The fluorescent lights of the diner flickered as the knife caught them, a flash of silver, then crimson. Maya Torres didn't scream, didn't run. She stepped between the blade and the stranger, and the first cut opened her shoulder before anyone could breathe. The second found her ribs. By the third, she was on her knees, still shielding the gray-haired man behind her. Blood spread across the linoleum in a pattern that looked almost deliberate, and somewhere in the chaos, a dog was barking, barking, barking. The diner went silent. Then the siren started. Stay with me until the end of this story. Like this video and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far Maya's story travels. The emergency room at Clearwater Regional had a rhythm Maya Torres knew by heart. 14 hours into her shift, that rhythm was the only thing keeping her upright. Sutures, vitals, compressions, repeat. A drunk driver at 9 p.m. A kitchen fire at midnight. A cardiac arrest at 3 a.m. that took 40 minutes and left her hands shaking. She'd stopped counting traumas after her 7th year as an ER nurse. Numbers didn't matter. Only the next patient mattered. "Maya, we need you in 3, someone called. She moved, always moving. The hallways of Clearwater Regional smelled like antiseptic and desperation, and Maya had long ago stopped noticing either. Her scrubs were rumpled, her dark hair escaping its ponytail in sweaty strands. She caught her reflection in a supply closet window. Exhausted eyes, coffee stains on her collar, the kind of invisible face that blended into every hospital corridor in America. Nobody looked twice at Maya Torres. That was fine, she preferred it that way. Room 3 held a construction worker with a nail through his hand. He was young, maybe 25, and trying not to cry. Maya cleaned the wound with steady hands, her voice low and calm as she explained what would happen next. The hand surgeon was on his way. The tetanus shot was already prepared. Everything would be fine. "You do this a lot?" the worker asked through gritted teeth. "Every day," Maya said. "Doesn't it get to you?" She paused, needle in hand. "Not anymore." That wasn't quite true. It got to her. Every shift, every patient, every life that slipped through her fingers despite everything she knew, everything she'd trained for. But she'd learned to compartmentalize, to lock it away in a place she didn't examine too closely. By 7 a.m., the shift change came like a prison release. She clocked out, grabbed her bag from her locker, and walked through the parking lot in the gray pre-dawn light. Her car was a 15-year-old sedan with a crack in the windshield and a bumper held on with zip ties. She sat in the driver's seat for a full minute before starting the engine, letting the silence wrap around her like a blanket. Her apartment was 20 minutes away. A studio in a building that had been recently renovated according to the listing, which meant they'd painted over the water stains and called it good. Maya had lived there for 3 years and could count on one hand the number of conversations she'd had with her neighbors. The drive home took her past strip malls and closed storefronts, the bones of Riverside, Washington laid bare in the morning light. She should have gone straight to her apartment, should have collapsed into bed and slept through the daylight. But her stomach was empty, and there was a diner on Route 9 that served breakfast 24 hours. The Bluebird Diner sat alone on a stretch of cracked asphalt, its neon sign buzzing against the pale sky. Maya had been coming here for 2 years, always after night shifts, always alone. The waitress knew her order. The cook knew to make the eggs over easy, not scrambled. Maya pulled into the lot and killed the engine. 3 other cars. Good. Quiet. Inside, the smell of bacon grease and burnt coffee hit her immediately. The waitress, 60-something with reading glasses on a chain, looked up from the register and nodded. Maya slid into her usual booth by the window, ordered eggs and toast without looking at the menu, and stared out at the empty road. The diner had 6 booths and a counter with 8 stools. The walls were decorated with faded photographs of Riverside from the 1950s, back when the lumber mill was still running and the downtown had 3 movie theaters. Now, it had a payday loan place and a vape shop. That's when she noticed him. The man sat alone in the corner booth, hunched over a cup of coffee. Late 60s, maybe 70. His jacket was military surplus, olive drab and threadbare at the elbows. His hands trembled slightly as he lifted the cup. Beside the booth, on the floor, lay a German shepherd. The dog was old, muzzle gray, eyes clouded with cataracts. It rested its head on its paws, breathing slow and steady. Maya watched them for a moment. Something about the way the man sat. Shoulders curved inward, like he was trying to take up less space. made her chest tighten. She'd seen that posture before. In the ER, mostly. People who'd learned to expect nothing and were grateful for less. The veteran had a small plate in front of him. Just toast. No eggs, no bacon. Just 2 pieces of dry toast and a cup of coffee that was probably his 3rd refill. The dog shifted and Maya saw the vest. Dark blue with patches sewn on. Military working dog. Retired. Her food arrived. She ate mechanically, not tasting it. Outside, the sky was brightening, the sun just starting to crest the hills to the east. In an hour, the morning rush would start. Office workers grabbing coffee, truckers stopping for breakfast. The diner would fill with noise and bodies. But right now, it was just Maya, the veteran, the waitress, and the cook. Then the door opened. 4 men walked in, early 20s, maybe younger, loud in the way people are when they've been drinking and don't want to stop. They took a booth near the counter, chairs scraping, voices bouncing off the tile. One of them knocked over a sugar dispenser and laughed like it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. The waitress brought them coffee. They ignored her, still talking over each other. Something about a party, about someone's ex-girlfriend, about shots they'd done and a fight they'd almost gotten into. Maya tuned them out. She'd learned to filter background noise in the ER, to focus on what mattered and let the rest fade. But then one of them said, "Hey, check out the war hero." Maya's head turned. The man in the corner didn't look up. He was staring into his coffee cup like it held answers. "Yo, Grandpa?" The speaker was wearing a backwards cap and a smirk. "That your dog?" "Thing looks half dead." His friends laughed. The sound was ugly, sharp-edged, and mean. The veteran's hands tightened around his coffee cup. He still didn't look up. "Seriously, man." Another one joined in. "What's wrong with it? Looks like it can barely walk." The dog lifted its head. A low whine escaped its throat. "Maybe you should put it out of its misery," the one in the cap said. "Do it a favor." Maya felt something ignite behind her ribs, a spark of anger, small but growing. The veteran finally looked up. His voice was quiet, almost apologetic. "He's fine. He's just old." "Just old?" One of the men laughed. "Dude, that thing's ancient. Why are you even keeping it around?" "He served," the veteran said quietly. "Overseas. Saved lives." "Oh, here we go." The man in the cap rolled his eyes. "The hero's speech." "I'm not—" The veteran's voice cracked. "I'm just saying, he earned his rest." "Earned it?" Another one chimed in. "What'd he do? Sniff out some bombs?" "Big deal. My cousin's got a Rottweiler that can do tricks." The dog was on its feet now, positioned between the booth and the counter. Its ears were back, but it wasn't growling, just watching, waiting. Maya's hands were flat on the table. She could feel her pulse in her temples. "Leave him alone," her voice cut through the diner like a scalpel. The men turned. 4 pairs of eyes locked onto her. The one in the cap grinned. "Sorry, what?" "I said leave him alone." Maya's voice was calm, steady. The same voice she used when a patient was coding and everyone else was panicking. "He's not bothering you." "Who the hell asked you?" "Nobody." She met his eyes without blinking. "But I'm asking you, leave him alone." The waitress had gone still behind the counter. The cook was watching through the kitchen window. The diner held its breath. The man in the cap stood up. He was tall, over 6 feet, with the kind of build that came from a gym membership and too much protein powder. He walked toward Maya's booth, slow and deliberate. "You got a problem, lady." "Only if you keep talking." His friends were standing now too, flanking him. Maya could feel the shift in the air. Violence had a frequency, and she'd learned to recognize it in the ER. The tension before a patient swung at a doctor, the moment before a family member lunged across the gurney. This was that moment. "You don't know what you're talking about," the man said. His voice had dropped, gone cold. "Why don't you mind your business? Why don't you act like adults?" One of his friends laughed, sharp and mean. "Oh, she's got an attitude." "Yeah," another one said. "Thinks she's tough." Maya stayed seated. Her hands were flat on the table, steady. She'd faced down gang members in the ER, meth addicts mid-psychosis, grieving fathers who wanted someone to blame. 4 drunk idiots didn't scare her. But she wasn't stupid. "I'm asking you politely," she said. "Leave." The man in the cap leaned down, close enough that she could smell the alcohol on his breath. Cheap beer, and something stronger. Or what? The veteran's voice came from the corner, quiet and rough. Don't. Everyone turned. The old man was standing now. The dog had risen too, positioning itself between him and the group. Its ears were back, teeth bared in a silent warning. Don't what, Gramps? The man in the cap laughed. You gonna do something? The veteran shook his head slowly. Just leave, please. Yeah? And if we don't? Then you're making a mistake. The words hung in the air. Simple, factual. One of the friends stepped forward, pointing at the dog. That thing bites me. I'm calling the cops. I'll sue your ass. Diesel won't bite unless I tell him to, the veteran said quietly. Oh, so it's trained. The man in the cap grinned. Trained to what? Shake? Roll over? Play dead? His friends laughed again. The sound bounced off the walls, filling the small space. Maya stood up. Enough! The diner went silent again. She was 5'6" in sneakers, dressed in wrinkled scrubs, and exhausted down to her bones. But something in her voice made them hesitate. Something that had nothing to do with size or strength, and everything to do with the absolute certainty in her tone. You've had your fun, Maya said. Now get out. The man in the cap stared at her. His smile had faded. For a moment, she thought he might actually listen. Then he smiled, cold and sharp. You know what? Fine. We're leaving. He turned toward the door. His friends followed, still laughing, still making comments under their breath. Maya exhaled slowly. Her heart was pounding, but she kept her face neutral. The waitress was already moving toward the veteran's booth, murmuring something Maya couldn't hear. The cook had disappeared back into the kitchen. Maya sat down. Her eggs were cold now, congealed on the plate. She pushed them away. Then the man in the cap stopped at the door. He turned back, one hand on the frame. But we'll be outside, he said, not looking at anyone in particular, in case you feel like continuing this conversation. The door swung shut behind them. The waitress let out a breath she'd been holding. She was gripping the coffee pot so hard her knuckles were white. Maya stood frozen, adrenaline still humming through her veins. She could see them through the window now, 4 silhouettes moving toward a pickup truck in the parking lot. They weren't getting in. They were leaning against it, passing something between them, waiting. The veteran sank into his booth, one hand on Diesel's head. The dog was still standing, still watching the door. Maya walked over to their booth. Up close, she could see the lines carved deep into his face, the tremor in his hands. His eyes were pale blue, the kind that had seen too much and remembered all of it. You okay? She asked. He nodded slowly. I'm sorry, I didn't want... Don't apologize. Maya glanced toward the window. The 4 men were clearly visible now. One of them was looking directly at the diner. Do you have someone you can call? Someone who can pick you up? No. His voice was barely a whisper. No one. Diesel pressed against his leg, a solid weight of loyalty. Maya pulled out her phone. I'm calling the police. They won't come. The veteran's voice was flat, matter of fact. Not for this. Not for me. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him that wasn't true. But she'd seen enough in the ER to know better. She'd seen domestic violence victims sent home because the cops said there wasn't enough evidence. She'd seen assault cases dropped because the victim didn't want to press charges. The system worked. Sometimes. For some people. Then I'll drive you home, she said. You don't have to. I know. They're waiting out there. I know that too. The veteran looked up at her, really looked at her. Why? Maya didn't have a good answer. Didn't have a reason that made sense. She just knew that walking away, leaving this man alone, wasn't something she could do. Because someone should, she said finally. She paid for both their meals at the counter, ignoring the waitress's nervous glance. The total was $18.47. Maya left a 20 and a 10. You sure about this? The waitress asked quietly. No, Maya admitted, but I'm doing it anyway. She helped the veteran to his feet. He was unsteady, one hand gripping the edge of the table. Diesel moved with them, slow but steady, his nails clicking on the tile floor. What's your name? Maya asked as they headed toward the door. Garrett. He hesitated. Garrett Sullivan. I'm Maya Torres. I know, he said quietly. I heard you, back there. What you said to them. Wasn't much. It was more than anyone else did. Maya pushed the door open. Morning light spilled across the asphalt, harsh and revealing. The parking lot was mostly empty, just her sedan, a semi-truck at the far end, and the pickup where the four men waited. Her car was parked on the opposite side of the lot from the truck, 30 yards maybe. She'd have to walk past them to reach it. Maya's keys were in her hand. Her phone was in her pocket, ringer turned up. She kept her eyes forward and started walking. Garrett and Diesel followed. The men pushed off the truck. Hey, one of them called. Thought you were tough in there. Maya didn't respond. She unlocked the car, opened the passenger door for Garrett. The interior smelled like old coffee and the vanilla air freshener she'd bought 3 months ago. Get in, she said quietly. Garrett hesitated. He was looking at the men, now moving closer. Maya. Get in, she repeated, firmer this time. Diesel jumped into the back seat without being told. Garrett climbed in after him, moving slowly. His hands were shaking worse now. Maya slammed the door and turned toward the driver's side. The men were spreading out now, cutting off the direct path to the road. The one in the cap was in front, the other 3 flanking him. Maya's training kicked in. Assess the situation. Identify the exits. Plan the response. She had her keys, she had her phone, she was 10 feet from her car door. The man in the cap stepped into her path. Where are you going? He asked. His smile was gone now. His eyes were flat, cold. Maya stopped. Move. Make me. Her heart was pounding now. Not fear, not yet, but the sharp awareness that this was escalating, and she was alone, and there were no cameras, no witnesses except a waitress and a cook, who were probably already pretending they hadn't seen anything. Last chance, she said. Or what? The man in the cap spread his arms. You gonna fight all 4 of us? Maya didn't answer. She was calculating distances. The diner door was 20 feet behind her. Her car door was 10 feet to the left. The road was 40 feet past the men. None of those options were good. She saw it coming. The shift in his stance, the tension in his shoulders. She'd seen it 100 times in the ER, the moment before violence erupted. But she didn't move fast enough. His hand shot out, grabbing her arm, hard, fingers digging into the muscle above her elbow. She twisted, trying to break free, but his grip tightened. Let go, she said. Her voice was still calm, still steady, but there was an edge now. Why should I? Garrett's door flew open. He was halfway out of the car, one hand on the roof, the other reaching for her. Diesel was beside him, barking now, sharp and furious, the sound echoing across the empty lot. Get your hands off her! Garrett's voice cracked like a whip. The man in the cap laughed. Or what, old man? You gonna fight me? If I have to. Yeah? One of the other men moved toward Garrett. Let's see it! Then he shoved Garrett, hard. The veteran stumbled backward, catching himself against the car. His legs buckled. He would have fallen if Diesel hadn't been there. A solid wall of muscle and loyalty. Diesel lunged. The man jumped back, but not fast enough. Teeth snapped at his ankle, missing by inches. The dog planted himself in front of Garrett, hackles raised, a growl rumbling deep in his chest. That thing just tried to bite me. The man's voice was high now, scared. You see that? That's assault. Maya yanked her arm free. The sudden movement made her stumble, but she caught herself. Stop! But it was too late. The momentum had shifted. The invisible line had been crossed. The man in the cap reached into his jacket. The knife came out fast, a folding blade, 4 inches of steel catching the morning light. It looked cheap, the kind you could buy at a gas station. But cheap didn't mean harmless. Maya's training kicked in. She moved without thinking, stepping between the blade and Garrett. Run, she said. Her voice was steady, calm, like she was telling a patient to breathe. Garrett, get back in the car and lock the doors. I'm not leaving you now! Garrett's face was pale, but he grabbed Diesel's collar and pulled him back into the car. The door slammed. The locks clicked with a sound that seemed too loud. Maya faced the 4 men alone. The parking lot was silent except for Diesel's muffled barking from inside the car. The sun was higher now, painting everything in harsh gold light. The diner's neon sign was still buzzing. The man with the knife was grinning. You really that stupid? Put it away, Maya said. Or what? She didn't have an answer, didn't have a weapon, didn't have backup. All she had was the space between the knife and the man in the car behind her. The man in the cap stepped forward. Last warning. Same to you. He moved, fast. The blade flashed toward her. Maya twisted, trying to dodge, but the tip caught her shoulder, a sharp, burning line of pain that stole her breath. She gasped, stumbling back against the car. Warm blood spread across her scrubs. She could feel it, sticky and hot. The man lunged again. This time, Maya didn't dodge. She stepped into the strike, letting the blade sink into her left side just below the ribs. The pain was white-hot, a supernova that whited out her vision for a second. But she grabbed his wrist with both hands, holding the knife in place. What the hell? The man tried to pull back. Maya didn't let go. Blood was spreading across her scrubs now, soaking through the fabric, dripping onto the asphalt. She could feel it, warm and sticky. But she held on. Behind her, Garrett was screaming. Diesel was barking. The world was narrowing to the knife in her side and the man's wide, panicked eyes. "Let go!" he shouted. Maya's grip tightened. Her hands were slippery with blood, but she held on. Every second she held the knife was another second Garrett had. Another second for someone to notice. Another second for help to arrive. Then someone hit her from the side. She went down hard, her head cracking against the asphalt. Stars exploded across her vision. The knife pulled free. Blood pooled beneath her, spreading in a dark circle. She tried to get up, but her body wouldn't respond. Her arms felt like they belonged to someone else. Her legs wouldn't move. Voices above her, shouting, panic. "Oh shit! She's bleeding. We gotta go." Footsteps. Running. The screech of tires. Maya turned her head. The men were piling into their truck, engine roaring to life. They were gone in seconds, leaving nothing but tire marks and blood. A shadow fell across her. Garrett. He was kneeling beside her, his hands pressing against the wounds. Diesel was beside him, whining, nose pressed against Maya's shoulder. "Stay with me," Garrett was saying. His voice was breaking, words tumbling out too fast. Please stay with me. Help is coming. Just hold on." Maya tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Her lips moved, but no sound emerged. The sky above was lightening, turning from gray to pale blue. It was beautiful, she thought distantly. She'd never noticed how beautiful the sky was at this hour. She could hear sirens in the distance, growing louder, coming closer. Garrett's face swam in and out of focus. Tears were streaming down his cheeks, disappearing into his beard. "You didn't have to do that," he choked. "You didn't. Why did you?" But Maya had already made her choice. The moment she stood up in the diner. The moment she told them to leave. The moment she stepped between the knife and a stranger. Some choices you made with your head. Some with your heart. This one had come from somewhere deeper, a place she didn't have words for. The sirens were close now. Red and blue lights flashed across the diner's windows, painting the parking lot in strobing colors. A patrol car screeched to a halt. Doors flew open, officers running toward them, hands on their weapons. What happened? How many attackers? Did you see which way they went? Garrett was trying to answer, but his voice kept breaking. An ambulance pulled in 30 seconds later, paramedics jumping out before it had fully stopped. She recognized one of them. Danny. They'd worked together last month on a multi-car pileup on Route 9. He was good. Fast, steady hands. Maya. His voice was disbelieving. He dropped to his knees beside her, medical kit already open. Jesus. Maya, what happened? She couldn't answer. The world was going dark at the edges, closing in like a camera iris. Danny's hands were on her, checking the wounds, applying pressure. Jesus, okay, we've got you. Mark, get the gurney. More hands, more voices. She was being lifted, moved, strapped down. The world tilted and spun. Clearwater Regional, 3 minutes out, Danny was saying into his radio. Female, early 30s, multiple stab wounds, significant blood loss. The ambulance doors slammed shut. The sirens started again, but muffled now, distant. Maya surfaced once during the ride. Danny was above her, adjusting an IV line. He saw her eyes open and leaned close. "You're going to be okay," he said. But his voice was tight, and his hands were shaking. She wanted to believe him. Then darkness again. When the ER doors burst open, the team was already waiting. She saw faces she knew, colleagues, friends. Dr. Patel was barking orders, his usually calm demeanor replaced by sharp urgency. Someone was cutting away her scrubs. Hands were everywhere, fast and efficient. Multiple stab wounds, Danny was saying, his voice clipped and professional. Left shoulder, left flank, possible peritoneal penetration. Blood pressure dropping, pulse thready. Get her to trauma 1, Dr. Patel snapped. And somebody page surgery, now. Maya tried to speak, tried to tell them she was fine, that she'd been through worse. But her voice was gone, swallowed by the darkness creeping back in. The ceiling tiles blurred past as they rushed her down the hallway. She knew this hallway, had walked it 1,000 times, had pushed patients down it, held their hands, told them everything would be okay. Now she was the one on the gurney, blood dripping onto the floor she used to mop at the end of her shifts. In Trauma 1, the lights were blinding. Hands moved over her with practiced precision. IV lines, monitors, pressure on the wounds. Someone was calling out numbers she knew meant she was in trouble. BP 70 over 40. We're losing her. Get that blood up here. Maya, can you hear me? Dr. Patel's voice was close, right by her ear. His hand found hers, squeezed. We're going to take care of you. Just stay with us. You hear me? Stay with us. She wanted to tell him she trusted him. Wanted to say she knew they'd do their best. They were good. They were the best team she'd ever worked with. But the words wouldn't come. Through the chaos, she heard another voice. Younger, Sarah, one of the newer nurses. She saved someone. A veteran. He's out in the waiting room. Won't leave. Tell him, Dr. Patel's voice caught. Tell him we're doing everything we can. The darkness was rising again, pulling her under. But this time, it felt different, heavier, more final. The monitor's beep was steady. Then it wasn't. The alarm sounded. Long, shrill, urgent. She's crashing. Get the crash cart. Hands on her chest. Compressions. The world jolting with each push. Clear! Her body arced, lightning through her chest. Again. More lightning. Come on, Maya, come on! The voices were fading now, retreating into a tunnel. She was falling, and there was nothing to grab onto. Then a sound cut through everything, barking, distant, muffled, but unmistakable. Diesel! Maya's eyes flew open. The monitor's beep returned, steady, strong. The trauma room erupted in controlled chaos. Dr. Patel was shouting orders. Hands were moving again. The surgery team was arriving, gowned and gloved. Someone was crying. Maya couldn't tell who. Prep her for OR, Dr. Patel said. His voice was steady again, but his hand was still holding hers. We're not losing her. They rushed her toward the elevator. The doors opened, closed. The world reduced to a small metal box, and the people who refused to let her die. In the waiting room 3 floors below, Garrett sat with his head in his hands. Diesel lay at his feet, nose pressed against the door, waiting for Maya to come back. The police had already been by, taken his statement, shown him photos on a tablet, grainy security footage from the diner's parking lot. He'd identified all 4 men without hesitation. We'll find them, the officer had said. Garrett nodded, but his mind wasn't on justice. It was on the woman in surgery, the stranger who'd stepped between him and a knife, who'd bled on the pavement for someone she didn't know. A nurse approached him, young, tired, kind eyes. Mr. Sullivan? He looked up. She's in surgery. Dr. Patel is the best we have. If anyone can save her, he can. How long? I don't know. Could be hours. Garrett nodded. I'll wait. You should go home. Get some rest. We can call you bits. I'll wait, he repeated, firmer this time. The nurse studied him for a moment, then nodded. There's coffee in the cafeteria, and we have a courtyard if Diesel needs to. Thank you, Garrett said. But we'll wait here. She left. The waiting room fell silent again. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher, light streaming through the windows. People came and went. Families, patients, delivery drivers. None of them looked at the old man and his dog in the corner. Nobody ever did. At 2 p.m., Dr. Patel emerged, still in his surgical cap, mask pulled down around his neck. His scrubs were stained with blood. Garrett stood. Diesel rose with him. Dr. Patel walked over. His face was unreadable. "She made it," he said quietly. "It was close. Closer than I'd like. But she made it." Garrett's legs gave out. He sat down hard, his whole body shaking. Diesel pressed against his side, a solid anchor. "Can I—" Garrett's voice cracked. "Can I see her?" "Not yet. She's in recovery. It'll be a few hours before she wakes up." Dr. Patel paused. "What you saw today, what she did, that was extraordinary. Most people would have run. She didn't." "I know," Garrett whispered. "Did you know her before today?" "No." Dr. Patel shook his head slowly. "Then why—" "I don't know," Garrett said. "I've been asking myself the same thing." But that was a lie. He did know. He'd seen it in her eyes when she stood up in the diner, that same look he'd seen in soldiers overseas. The ones who ran toward the gunfire instead of away from it. The ones who carried wounded teammates through minefields. The ones who made choices that didn't make sense to anyone who'd never been there. Heroes didn't think. They just moved. Dr. Patel left. Garrett stayed. Diesel stayed. At 6 p.m., a different nurse came. "She's awake. She's asking for you." Garrett stood, legs unsteady. Diesel walked beside him, matching his pace. They took the elevator to the 4th floor, the ICU. Garrett had been in hospitals like this before, after he'd come back, after the nightmares started. The walls always had the same color. The smell was always the same. Room 417, the door was half open. Garrett knocked softly. "Come in," a voice called, weak but clear. He pushed the door open. Maya lay in the bed, pale and small against the white sheets. Tubes and wires connected her to machines that beeped and hummed. Her shoulder was bandaged, her side was bandaged, her eyes were dark with exhaustion. But she was alive. She saw Diesel first. Her face transformed, a smile breaking through the pain. "Hey, buddy." Diesel's tail wagged once, twice. He moved to the bedside, laying his head gently on the mattress. Maya's hand found his ears, scratching softly. Then she looked at Garrett. "You stayed," she said. "Of course I stayed. You didn't have to." "Yes," Garrett said quietly. "I did." They sat in silence for a moment. The machines beeped. Somewhere down the hall, someone was crying. "They caught them," Garrett said finally. "The police. All 4 of them. They're in custody." Maya nodded slowly. "Good. Why did you do it?" The question burst out of him. "You didn't know me. You didn't know Diesel. We were strangers. Why would you—" "Because no one else would," Maya said simply. "That's not a reason. It's the only one I have." Garrett's throat tightened. Tears burned behind his eyes. "You could have died. But I didn't." You almost did. The doctor said—" "I know what he said," Maya interrupted gently. "I heard them. In the OR. I heard everything." Garrett sank into the chair beside the bed. Diesel stayed where he was, head on the mattress, eyes half closed. "I don't know how to—" Garrett stopped, started again. "Thank you doesn't feel like enough." "Then don't say it," Maya said. "Just promise me something. Anything. Take care of him." She nodded toward Diesel. "He's a good boy. He deserves someone who sees that." "I will," Garrett whispered. "I promise." Maya's eyes were closing now, exhaustion pulling her under. But she was smiling. "Good." Garrett sat there as she drifted off, watching her breathe, in and out, steady and strong. Outside the window, the sun was setting. The sky turned orange, then pink, then purple. The hospital settled into its night rhythm, quieter but never silent. Garrett thought about the men in custody, thought about the knife, the blood, the moment Maya stepped forward instead of back. He thought about all the people who'd walked past him and Diesel in the diner, who'd looked away, who'd pretended they didn't see. And he thought about the one who hadn't, the one who'd stood up when everyone else sat down, the one who'd bled for a stranger. Diesel shifted, a soft sigh escaping him. Garrett reached down, running his hand along the dog's back. "We owe her," he whispered. "Don't we, boy?" Diesel's tail thumped once against the floor. In the bed, Maya slept. The machines beeped their steady rhythm, and for the first time in years, Garrett felt something he'd almost forgotten. Hope. But hope was a fragile thing in a world that had already shown Garrett how quickly it could be taken away. The night nurse came in at 9 p.m. to check Maya's vitals. She was young, efficient, barely glanced at Garrett or Diesel. Just did her job and left. The door clicked shut behind her, and the room fell silent again except for the steady beep of the monitors. Garrett dozed in the chair, his body finally surrendering to exhaustion. Diesel slept on the floor beside him, one ear twitched toward the bed, always listening. At 3 a.m., Maya's eyes opened. The room was dark except for the glow of the machines. Her side felt like it was on fire, and her shoulder throbbed with each heartbeat. But she was alive. She turned her head slowly. Garrett was still there, slumped in the chair, his breathing deep and steady. Diesel lifted his head, tail wagging softly when he saw her looking. "Hey, boy," she whispered. The dog rose quietly, padding to her bedside. She reached down, the movement sent pain shooting through her ribs, and scratched behind his ears. In the hallway outside, footsteps, voices. The hospital's night shift moving through its rounds. Maya closed her eyes and tried to sleep, but her mind wouldn't stop replaying the parking lot. The knife, the blood. The moment she made the choice, she'd do it again, even knowing how it ended. She'd do it again. Dawn came slowly. Gray light filtered through the blinds. Garrett woke first, his neck stiff from the chair. He saw Maya watching him. "How long have you been awake?" he asked. "Not long. You should have woken me." "You needed the sleep." A knock at the door. "Doctor." Patel entered, tablet in hand. He looked better than he had yesterday, showered, fresh scrubs, but the exhaustion still showed around his eyes. "How are you feeling?" he asked Maya. "Like I got stabbed." A small smile. "That's accurate." He pulled up her chart on the tablet, scrolling through data. The shoulder wound was clean, missed everything important. The abdominal wound was trickier. The blade nicked your spleen. We had to remove it. Maya nodded. She'd expected as much. "You'll be fine without it," Dr. Patel continued. "But you'll need to be careful. Your immune system will be compromised. Infections will hit harder." "When can I leave?" "Not for a few days. We need to monitor you. Make sure there's no internal bleeding, no complications." He paused. "Maya, you lost a lot of blood. You're lucky to be alive." "I know." "Do you?" His voice was sharper now. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you threw yourself in front of a knife without thinking." "I thought plenty. And you still did it." "Yes." Dr. Patel shook his head slowly. "You're either the bravest person I know or the most reckless. Can't I be both?" He almost smiled. Almost. Then his expression sobered. "There are people who want to talk to you. Police. Reporters. The hospital administrator wants to make a statement." "No reporters," Maya said immediately. "Maya, no reporters," she repeated. "I don't want this turning into a circus." "It already is." Dr. Patel pulled out his phone, showed her the screen. A news article. The headline read, "Local nurse stabbed defending veteran." Maya's stomach sank. "It's everywhere," Dr. Patel said quietly. "Local news picked it up yesterday afternoon. By evening, it was statewide. This morning, it's national." "How?" "Someone at the diner talked. And the security footage, the police released part of it." Maya closed her eyes. This was exactly what she didn't want. "People are calling you a hero," Dr. Patel said. "I'm not." "Try telling them that." Garrett had been silent through the exchange, but now he spoke. "They should know what you did." "They don't need to know anything," Maya said. "Yes, they do." His voice was firm. "You saved my life. You took a knife for a stranger. That means something." "It doesn't mean I want my face on the news." Dr. Patel pocketed his phone. "I'll do what I can to keep the reporters away." "But Maya, you need to understand, this story resonates. People want to believe there are still good people in the world. You gave them proof." He left. The door closed. Maya stared at the ceiling, her mind racing. "I didn't do it for attention," she said quietly. "I know," Garrett replied, "but that doesn't mean you don't deserve recognition." "I don't want it." "What do you want?" Maya turned to look at him. Really look at him. This man she'd met less than 24 hours ago. This stranger she'd bled for. "I want to know you're safe," she said. "That's all." Garrett's throat worked. "I am. Because of you." A nurse arrived with breakfast, oatmeal, juice, jello, hospital food. Maya picked at it without enthusiasm. The pain medication made her nauseous, but she forced herself to eat. She needed her strength back. At 10 a.m., 2 police officers arrived. One was older, graying at the temples. The other was younger, still learning the job. They introduced themselves, Detective Morrison and Officer Hayes. "We need to ask you some questions," Morrison said. "About what happened?" Maya nodded. Garrett stood to leave, but she shook her head. "Stay," she said. He sat back down. Morrison pulled out a notebook. "Walk me through it, from the beginning." Maya told them everything. The diner, the confrontation, the parking lot, the knife. She kept her voice steady, factual, like she was reporting a patient's condition. Morrison took notes. Hayes watched her closely, like he was trying to reconcile the woman in the hospital bed with the one who'd taken 5 stab wounds. "We arrested all 4 suspects," Morrison said when she finished. "They're in custody, charged with attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon, and assault on a healthcare worker." "Assault on a healthcare worker?" Maya asked. "It's a felony enhancement in Washington," Morrison explained. "Carries additional penalties. The DA's pushing for maximum sentences." "Good," Garrett said quietly. Morrison glanced at him, then back at Maya. "We have security footage from the diner. It shows everything. The confrontation inside, what happened in the parking lot. It's damning evidence." "Then why do you need my statement?" "Because a jury needs to hear from you," Morrison said. "They need to see the person who was attacked. They need to understand what you went through." Maya's hands tightened on the blanket. "When?" "Not for a while. Arraignment is next week. Trial won't be for months. But when the time comes, we'll need you to testify." "I'll be there." Morrison nodded. He closed his notebook. "One more thing. The media is going crazy with this. If you need protection, if anyone bothers you, call me directly." He handed her a card. Maya took it. "Thank you." The officers left. The room fell silent again. "Are you okay?" Garrett asked. "No," Maya admitted, "but I will be." By afternoon, word had spread through Clearwater Regional. Nurses stopped by between shifts, peeking in to check on her. Some she knew well. Some she'd only worked with once or twice. All of them looked at her differently now. Sarah came in around 2 p.m., still in her scrubs. She'd been on shift when they brought Maya in. She'd held the instruments while Dr. Patel operated. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey, yourself." Sarah sat on the edge of the bed. "I've never been so scared in my life. When you crashed on the table, her voice broke. "I'm okay," Maya said. "You died, Maya. For 43 seconds, you were gone. We brought you back, but..." She wiped her eyes. "Don't ever do that again." "I'll try not to." Sarah laughed, but it came out as a sob. She hugged Maya carefully, avoiding the bandages. "You're an idiot. You know that, right?" "Yeah, but you're our idiot." Sarah stayed for 20 minutes, filling Maya in on hospital gossip. Who was dating who? Which doctor had yelled at which nurse? Normal things, safe things, things that didn't involve knives or blood or dying on an operating table. When she left, Maya felt a little more grounded, a little more herself. Evening came, dinner arrived, more bland hospital food. Garrett went to the cafeteria to get something for himself, leaving Diesel with Maya. The dog rested his head on the bed, eyes half closed, content. "You're a good boy," Maya told him. "The best boy." Diesel's tail thumped once. Maya thought about what Dr. Patel had said, about the news coverage, about being called a hero. She didn't feel like one. Heroes were supposed to be strong, fearless, larger than life. She was just a nurse who'd made a choice. But maybe that was the point. Maybe heroes weren't supposed to be perfect. Maybe they were just people who chose to act when everyone else froze. Her phone buzzed. She'd left it in her locker during her shift, and someone had brought it to her room. She picked it up, scrolled through the notifications. 53 missed calls, 112 text messages, voicemails from numbers she didn't recognize. She opened the texts. Most were from coworkers. Some were from old friends she hadn't talked to in years. A few were from reporters asking for interviews. One stood out. From her sister in Portland. I saw the news. Are you okay? Call me. Maya stared at the message. She and her sister hadn't spoken in almost 2 years. Not since their mother's funeral. Not since the argument about the will. About who got what. About things that didn't matter in the end. She typed a response. I'm fine. Just need rest. She hit send before she could overthink it. Garrett returned with a sandwich and coffee. He ate quietly, not pushing conversation. Maya appreciated that. She was tired of talking. At 8 p.m., a man appeared in the doorway. Tall, late 50s, wearing a suit that cost more than Maya made in a month. Behind him stood a woman with a camera. Ms. Torres, the man said, I'm Richard Brennan, Channel 7 News. I was wondering if we could have a few minutes. No, Maya said. Just a quick interview. People want to hear your story. I said no. Brennan smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. The public has a right to know. Get out, Garrett said. He was standing now, Diesel beside him. The dog's ears were back, a low growl rumbling in his chest. Brennan held up his hands. I'm just doing my job. And I'm telling you to leave, Garrett said, before I call security. The cameraman had already started filming. Maya saw the red light on the camera, felt her stomach turn. Turn that off, she said. It's a public hospital. Turn it off or I'll smash it, Garrett snapped. The growl in Diesel's throat grew louder. Brennan backed toward the door. We just want to tell your story. My story isn't yours to tell, Maya said. Her voice was cold. Final. Get out. Now. They left. But Maya knew they'd be back. They always came back. Garrett pressed the call button. A nurse arrived within seconds. No reporters, Maya said. Put it on my chart. No visitors except approved family. Of course, the nurse said. She made a note on her tablet. I'll notify security. After she left, Maya slumped back against the pillows. This is going to get worse, isn't it? Probably, Garrett admitted. I hate this. I know. Maya closed her eyes. The pain medication was kicking in again, making her thoughts slow and heavy. I just wanted to help. You did, Garrett said quietly. You saved my life. And now I can't even get peace in a hospital room. Garrett moved his chair closer to the bed. I'll stay, as long as you need me. No one gets past me and Diesel. Maya opened her eyes. You don't have to. Yes, he said firmly. I do. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him she could take care of herself, but the truth was she was exhausted and scared and grateful for the company. Thank you, she whispered. Get some rest, Garrett said. We'll handle everything else tomorrow. Maya drifted off, the pain medication pulling her under. Her dreams were fragmented, flashes of the parking lot, the knife, blood on asphalt. But through it all, Diesel was there, a steady presence. The next morning brought new complications. Dr. Patel arrived early, his expression grim. We have a problem. Maya sat up slowly. What kind of problem? The hospital administrator wants to hold a press conference about what happened. About you. No. Maya, listen. I said no. Her voice was sharp. I don't want a press conference. I don't want interviews. I don't want any of it. I understand, but then make them understand. Dr. Patel ran a hand through his hair. It's not that simple. The hospital's getting calls, donors, board members. They see this as an opportunity to what? Use me for PR? To celebrate one of their own, Dr. Patel corrected gently. Maya, you're a hero, whether you want to be or not. The hospital wants to honor that. I don't want to be honored. I want to be left alone. I'll tell them, Dr. Patel said, but I can't promise they'll listen. He left. Maya stared at the wall, feeling trapped. The room suddenly felt too small, the air too thin. Garrett watched her carefully. What are you thinking? That I made a mistake? Saving me? No. Maya shook her head. Never that. But everything that came after, I should have seen it coming. You couldn't have known. I work in a hospital, Garrett. I see how people react to tragedy. The flowers, the cards, the attention. I should have known this would happen. So what do you want to do? Maya thought about it, really thought about it. I want to go home. The doctor said, I know what he said, but I can't stay here, not with reporters outside, not with the hospital wanting to parade me around. Garrett hesitated. Where's home? An apartment on the east side, nothing special. You have someone there, family? No. Then let me help, Garrett said. I have a place. Small, quiet. No one knows about it. You could stay there while you recover. Maya studied him. I barely know you. You took a knife for me, Garrett said quietly. I think that counts for something. She couldn't argue with that. By afternoon, she'd convinced Dr. Patel to discharge her. It took work, promises to follow up, to take her medications, to come back immediately if anything felt wrong. But eventually, he relented. Against my better judgment, he said. But I know you. Once you've made up your mind, there's no stopping you. Thank you, Maya said. Don't thank me. Just don't die. I'll do my best. Garrett brought his truck around to the loading dock, away from the main entrance where reporters had started to gather. A nurse wheeled Maya down in a wheelchair, hospital policy. Diesel walked beside them, alert and watchful. The truck was old, a Ford from the 90s with rust on the wheel wells, but it ran, and it was anonymous. Perfect. Maya climbed in slowly, every movement sending pain through her side. Garrett helped her with the seatbelt, then loaded Diesel into the back. They pulled out of the loading dock and onto the side streets, avoiding the main roads. No one followed. No cameras. No reporters. For the first time in days, Maya felt like she could breathe. Garrett's place was a small cabin 30 minutes outside Riverside, tucked into the woods off a dirt road. It was simple. One bedroom, a living room with a wood stove, a kitchen barely big enough for 2 people. But it was clean, quiet, and hidden. It's not much, Garrett said as he helped her inside. It's perfect, Maya said. He settled her on the couch with blankets and pillows. Diesel curled up on the floor beside her. Garrett made tea, nothing fancy, just bags from the grocery store, and they sat in comfortable silence. How long have you lived here? Maya asked. 5 years. After I came back from overseas, I couldn't handle the city. Too many people, too much noise. I found this place and never left. It suits you. Yeah. He stared into his mug. It does. Night fell. Garrett made dinner, soup from a can, bread from a bag, simple but warm. They ate together at the small table, Diesel begging for scraps. Tell me about him, Maya said, nodding toward the dog. About Diesel. Garrett's expression softened. He was assigned to my unit in Afghanistan. Bomb detection. Saved us more times than I can count. Found IEDs that would have killed dozens. When he retired, they were going to put him down. Said he was too old, too expensive to rehome. But you took him. Couldn't let that happen, not after everything he'd done. Garrett reached down, scratching Diesel's ears. He's family. Maya understood, more than she could put into words. They talked late into the night, about the war, about nursing, about the things they'd seen, the things they carried. Garrett told her about the friends he'd lost. Maya told him about the patients she couldn't save. It felt good to talk, to be honest with someone who understood. At midnight, Garrett set up the bedroom for her. Fresh sheets, extra blankets, a glass of water on the nightstand. You sure you don't want the bed? Maya asked. I'm sure, couch is fine for me. She was too tired to argue. She collapsed onto the bed, still dressed, and was asleep within minutes. Garrett stayed awake, sitting in the living room with Diesel. He thought about the parking lot, about Maya stepping between him and the knife, about how close he'd come to losing someone who'd just become important to him. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We need to talk. About Maya Torres. Garrett frowned. He didn't respond. Another text came through. She's in danger, more than she knows. His blood went cold. He stood, moving to the window. The woods were dark, silent. Nothing moved. He texted back. Who is this? The response was immediate. Someone who knows what really happened in that parking lot and what's coming next. Garrett's hands tightened on the phone. He wanted to wake Maya, wanted to show her the messages, but she was finally resting, finally safe. He typed, "What do you want?" The phone rang. Unknown number. Garrett answered, stepping outside onto the porch so he wouldn't wake Maya. "Who are you?" he demanded. "A friend." The voice was male, distorted. "Listen carefully. The men who attacked you, they're not just random thugs." "What are you talking about?" "They have connections, powerful ones, and they're not going to prison quietly." Garrett's stomach dropped. "What kind of connections?" "The kind that make problems disappear. The kind that don't like witnesses." I'm saying Maya Torres just became a target, and you're standing right next to her." The line went dead. Garrett stood frozen on the porch, phone still pressed to his ear. In the distance, through the trees, he saw headlights, coming closer. Garrett moved fast. He was inside within seconds, locking the door behind him, killing the lights. Diesel was already on his feet, sensing the shift in energy. The dog positioned himself between Garrett and the bedroom door, ears forward, body tense. The headlights grew brighter through the trees. Not one vehicle. Two. Garrett moved to the window, staying low, peering through the gap in the curtains. Two SUVs, black, windows tinted. They stopped at the end of his driveway, engines idling. No one got out. His mind raced through options. The cabin had one entrance, one exit. Windows on three sides, but they were small, high, defensible, but also a trap if things went wrong. His service pistol was in the bedroom closet, unloaded. The ammunition was in the kitchen drawer, stupid, careless. The SUVs sat there for 3 minutes, then 4. Garrett's heart hammered against his ribs. Every instinct from his years overseas was screaming at him to act, to move, to get Maya out. Then the vehicles reversed, slowly, deliberately. They backed down the dirt road until the headlights disappeared into the darkness. Garrett stayed frozen at the window for another 10 minutes, watching, waiting. Nothing moved except the wind through the trees. He pulled out his phone, called Detective Morrison. It rang 4 times before going to voicemail. "This is Garrett Sullivan. 2 vehicles just showed up at my property. Black SUVs. They didn't approach, but call me back. Maya Torres is with me. I think she's in danger." He hung up, moved to the kitchen, retrieved the ammunition, loaded the pistol with practiced efficiency. Muscle memory from another life. Diesel whined softly. "I know, boy," Garrett whispered. "I know." He checked the bedroom. Maya was still asleep, her breathing steady. The pain medication had knocked her out completely. Good. She needed rest, needed time to heal, but time was something they might not have. Garrett returned to the living room. He positioned himself in the recliner facing the door, pistol on his lap, phone beside him. Diesel settled at his feet, nose pointed toward the entrance. The night stretched on. Every sound made Garrett's hand move toward the gun. A branch scraping the roof, an owl calling from the woods, his own breathing, too loud in the silence. At 4 a.m., his phone buzzed. Morrison. "What's going on?" the detective asked without preamble. Garrett explained. The phone call, the warning, the SUVs. Morrison was silent for a long moment. "I need you to bring her in." "What?" "To the station, protective custody. If what you're saying is true, it is true." "Then she's not safe where you are." Garrett looked toward the bedroom. "She just got out of the hospital. She needs rest, not interrogation rooms." "This isn't about what she needs," Morrison said sharply. "It's about keeping her alive." "Who were those men? The ones who attacked us? Who are they connected to?" Morrison hesitated. Garrett heard it in the pause, the careful breath before speaking. "I can't discuss an ongoing investigation." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I can give you right now." Morrison's tone softened slightly. "Look, Sullivan, I believe you, but I need evidence. Security footage, something. Can you describe the vehicles?" "Black SUVs, late model, no plates visible. That's not much to go on." "It's what I saw." "All right, I'll have a patrol car swing by your area. Keep your doors locked. Call 911 if you see anything else." The line went dead. Garrett stared at the phone. A patrol car. Like that would stop professionals. Because that's what this felt like, not random thugs looking for revenge, something organized, calculated. Dawn came slowly. Gray light filtered through the windows. Garrett hadn't slept. His eyes burned. His body ached from sitting in the same position for hours. But he stayed alert. At 7 a.m., Maya emerged from the bedroom. She looked better, color back in her face, moving more easily. The rest had helped. Then she saw Garrett, the gun, the tension in his shoulders. "What happened?" she asked. He told her everything. The phone call, the warning, the SUVs. Maya sank onto the couch. Why would anyone? "I don't know," Garrett said. "But Morrison wants you in protective custody." "No." "Maya, I'm not going into protective custody. I'm not hiding." Her voice was firm despite the fear in her eyes. "Those men attacked us. They're in jail. What threat could they possibly—" "They have connections," Garrett interrupted. "That's what the caller said. Powerful connections. An anonymous caller you can't identify or trace." "I know what I heard. And I know what I'm not doing." Maya stood, wincing slightly. "I'm not running. I'm not hiding. I did nothing wrong." "No one's saying you did." "Then why should I act like I'm the criminal?" Garrett had no answer for that. Maya moved to the kitchen, poured herself water. Her hands were steady, but Garrett saw the white-knuckle grip on the glass. "We should at least go to the station," he said quietly. "Talk to Morrison. Figure out what's happening." Maya nodded. "Fine, but I'm not staying there." They left an hour later. Garrett drove carefully, eyes constantly checking the rearview mirror. No black SUVs, no cars following them, just normal morning traffic heading into Riverside. The police station was a squat brick building on 4th Street. Garrett parked in the visitor lot. Diesel stayed in the truck, windows cracked. Inside, the smell of burnt coffee and old paperwork hung in the air. Morrison met them in the lobby, ushered them to a conference room on the 2nd floor. "Thank you for coming in," he said. "Did you find the SUVs?" Garrett asked. "No." Morrison sat across from them, a file folder in his hands. "But we did find something else." He opened the folder, pushed a photograph across the table. It showed one of the attackers, the one in the backwards cap. But he was younger in the photo, cleaner, wearing a suit. "His name is Tyler Vance," Morrison said. 23 years old, works for a private security firm out of Seattle, Blackridge Solutions. Maya leaned forward. "Security firm?" "On paper, yes. In reality," Morrison pulled out more photos. "They're enforcers. Hired muscle for people who can afford discretion." Garrett felt his blood go cold. "Who hired them?" "That's what we're trying to figure out." Morrison tapped the photo. "Vance isn't talking. None of them are. They lawyered up immediately. High-end attorneys, the kind you can't afford on a security guard's salary." "So someone's paying for their defense," Maya said. "Someone with deep pockets and a vested interest in keeping them quiet." "Why attack us?" Garrett asked. "We were strangers in a diner. What possible reason?" "That's what doesn't make sense," Morrison admitted. "On the surface, it looks random. Drunk idiots harassing a veteran. But if they're connected to Blackridge—" He shook his head. "This was deliberate." Maya's face had gone pale. "You think they were sent there? To that diner? For us?" "I don't know, but I'm looking into it." Big Garrett stood abruptly. "This is insane. Why would anyone target Maya? She's a nurse. She saves lives. She doesn't have enemies." "Everyone has enemies," Morrison said quietly. "Sometimes they just don't know it yet." Maya's phone rang. She pulled it from her pocket, glanced at the screen. Unknown number. She answered anyway. "Miss Torres?" A woman's voice, professional, clipped. "This is Rebecca Holt, Deputy Director of Communications for Blackridge Solutions." Maya's eyes went wide. She hit the speaker button. "I'm calling to inform you that Blackridge is prepared to offer you a settlement," Holt continued. $1 million in exchange for your agreement not to pursue civil litigation against our employees or our company." The room went silent. "You're offering me money," Maya said slowly, "to not sue you." "That's correct." "Why would I sue you? Your employees attacked me unprovoked." "Which is precisely why we'd like to resolve this matter quietly. We're prepared to add an additional $500,000 if you agree to sign a non-disclosure agreement." Morrison was already writing notes, gesturing for her to keep the woman talking. "And if I refuse?" Maya asked. A pause. "Then we'll be forced to pursue alternative remedies. Our attorneys are quite capable, Ms. Torres. Litigation can be lengthy, expensive, stressful, especially for someone recovering from trauma." "Is that a threat?" It's a reality. Maya's hand tightened on the phone. Tell your attorneys I'll see them in court. She hung up. Morrison was already on his feet. That was stupid. Excuse me? You just turned down $1.5 million and pissed off a company with unlimited resources. They attacked me, Maya said. Her voice was shaking now. They stabbed me, and now they want to pay me to shut up, like I'm the problem. You're not the problem, Morrison said, but you just became a bigger target. Garrett moved to Maya's side. What do we do? Morrison ran a hand over his face. I can put you in protective custody. Safe house, round-the-clock surveillance. No, Maya said immediately. Maya, I said no. She stood, wavering slightly. Garrett steadied her. I'm not hiding. I'm not running, and I'm sure as hell not letting them intimidate me into silence. Then you're making a mistake. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. They left the station. Outside, the morning had turned overcast, threatening rain. Garrett helped Maya into the truck. Diesel greeted them with tail wags, oblivious to the storm gathering around them. We need a plan, Garrett said as he started the engine. I have one, Maya replied. I'm going back to work. You can't be serious. I've been cleared for light duty. Dr. Patel called this morning. They need me. Maya, someone just offered you $1 million to disappear. That means they're scared of you, of what you represent. Good. Let them be scared. Garrett pulled out of the parking lot, heading back toward the cabin. His mind was racing. He'd seen this pattern before. In Afghanistan, the escalation, the pressure, the moment before everything exploded. We need help, he said quietly. From who? Garrett thought about it. Thought about the people he used to know, the ones who'd served with him, the ones who'd understand what was happening. I know someone, he said. Let me make a call. That afternoon, 3 men arrived at the cabin. They came in separate vehicles, parked at different distances. They wore civilian clothes, but they moved like soldiers. The first was Marcus Webb, 6'2", built like a tank, with a scar running down his left cheek. He'd been Garrett's squad leader in Kandahar. The second was James Porter, quieter, leaner, with eyes that never stopped moving. Sniper. The best Garrett had ever seen. The third was David Kim, medic. He'd saved Garrett's life twice. Garrett had lost count of how many times he'd saved others. They gathered in the cabin's small living room. Maya watched from the couch, Diesel beside her. This her? Marcus asked. Maya Torres, Garrett said. Maya, these are some friends from my unit. You told them? Maya's voice was tight. I told them you needed help. They came. Marcus pulled up a chair, sat facing Maya. Garrett says you took a knife for him. It wasn't. No need to downplay it, Marcus interrupted. He told us what you did. That takes guts. Or stupidity, Maya said. Sometimes those are the same thing. Marcus smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. He also says someone's putting pressure on you. Threats. Intimidation. A security company. Blackridge Solutions. James whistled low. That's not good. You know them? Garrett asked. Know of them. They recruit from military and law enforcement, pay well, but their clients... James shook his head. Let's just say they don't hire Blackridge for legitimate security work. David had been quiet, but now he spoke. What do you want from us? The question hung in the air. Maya looked at Garrett, then at the 3 men who'd dropped everything to help a stranger. I don't know, she admitted. I don't want to be alone in this. You're not, Marcus said simply. We take care of our own. And Garrett's one of us, which means you are too. Something shifted in the room, an invisible line drawn. These men didn't know Maya, didn't owe her anything, but Garrett had called, and they'd answered. That was enough. They spent the next 2 hours planning. Marcus had contacts in law enforcement. James knew people in private investigation. David could access medical records, insurance claims, anything that might reveal a pattern. We need to know why, Marcus said. Why you? Why that diner? Why that night? It was random, Maya said. Wasn't it? Nothing's random when Blackridge is involved, James replied. They don't waste resources on bar fights. Night fell. The men left, promising to return with information. Garrett locked the doors, checked the windows. Diesel made a circuit of the cabin, sniffing every corner. Maya sat on the couch, exhausted. The wounds ached, her head pounded, but underneath it all was something new. Anger. She'd spent her whole life being overlooked, being invisible. The quiet nurse in the background. The person people forgot as soon as they left the room. But now someone saw her as a threat, as someone worth silencing, and that changed everything. "Garrett," she said quietly. He turned from the window. "Thank you for calling them, for," her voice caught, "for not letting me do this alone." "You saved my life," Garrett said. "I'm not letting anything happen to you." "You can't promise that. Watch me." The next morning, Maya woke to voices outside. She stumbled to the window, saw Marcus's truck in the driveway. He and Garrett were talking on the porch, their expressions grim. She pulled on a jacket, went outside. Both men turned. "What is it?" she asked. Marcus handed her his phone. A news article. Blackridge employee found dead in holding cell. Maya read the first paragraph. Tyler Vance, the man in the backwards cap, the one who'd held the knife, dead. Apparent suicide. "Suicide," she said flatly. "That's the official story," Marcus replied. "And the unofficial?" "He was murdered. To keep him quiet." Maya's hand started shaking. She lowered the phone. The other three, in protective custody now," Marcus said. "Separate facilities. But if someone got to Vance, they can get to anyone," Garrett finished. Maya sat down hard on the porch steps. This was spiraling, out of control, beyond anything she could have imagined. "I need to go to the police," she said. "And tell them what?" Marcus asked. "That you think someone killed a prisoner? They'll say you're paranoid, traumatized." "Then what do I do?" Marcus crouched in front of her. "You fight, but smart. We find out who's pulling the strings. We expose them. We make so much noise they can't silence you without exposing themselves." "How?" "Leave that to us." Over the next 3 days, the men worked. James traced Blackridge's financial records. Shell companies, offshore accounts, a web of connections leading to a single name. Victor Castellano, billionaire real estate developer. Known for buying land cheap and selling high. Known for making problems disappear. David found medical records. Maya's records. Someone had accessed them illegally the day after the attack. From an IP address traced back to a law firm in Seattle, the same firm representing the Blackridge employees. Marcus talked to his contacts, learned that Castellano had been trying to buy the land where the Bluebird Diner sat, had made 3 offers to the owner, all rejected. The pieces started to fit together. He wanted the land, James explained, laying out documents on Garrett's kitchen table. But the owner wouldn't sell, so Castellano needed leverage. "What kind of leverage?" Maya asked. "The violent kind. Stage an attack on the property, make it look dangerous, drive away customers, tank the property value." "But we weren't supposed to be there," Garrett said slowly. "The attack wasn't about us." "No," Marcus agreed. "You were collateral damage. Wrong place, wrong time." Maya felt sick. "So when I fought back, when I became a witness, you became a problem," James finished, "one they're trying very hard to solve." "The settlement offer," Maya said. "That was to buy my silence. And when you refused, they killed Vance." The room fell silent. Maya stood, moved to the window. Outside, the woods were dark, quiet, peaceful. But she knew now that peace was an illusion. "We need to go public," she said. "With what?" Marcus asked. "Circumstantial evidence? A theory? Castellano's lawyers will bury us. Then we find proof." Maya, "No." She turned to face them. "You said I needed to fight smart. This is me fighting. We find proof. We expose him. We make sure everyone knows what he did." Garrett moved to her side. "That's dangerous." "So is doing nothing." Marcus exchanged looks with James and David. Some unspoken communication passed between them. "All right," Marcus said finally. "We'll help. But we do this carefully. One mistake and you're dead." They worked through the night. James hacked into Castellano's email servers. Illegal, but necessary. Found communications between Castellano and Blackridge. Coded language, but clear enough. Orders to handle the situation, to minimize exposure. Well, David obtained phone records, calls between Vance and a Blackridge supervisor hours before the attack, a pattern of contact that suggested planning, coordination. Marcus found the diner's owner, an elderly woman named Helen Morris. She'd owned the Bluebird for 40 years, refused to sell because it had been her husband's dream. He died there. Heart attack behind the counter 3 years ago. Castellano threatened her, Marcus reported. Told her accidents happen, buildings burn, people get hurt. She went to the police? Maya asked. She tried. They said there wasn't enough evidence, told her to get a lawyer. Did she? Can't afford one. Maya felt the anger building again, not just for herself anymore, for Helen, for Garrett, for everyone who'd been caught in Castellano's machine. We need to talk to her, Maya said. Why? Because she's the victim here, the one he's been terrorizing. If we're going public, her voice matters. They drove to Helen's house the next morning, a small bungalow on the south side of town. The yard was overgrown, the paint peeling. Helen answered the door in a house dress, her white hair pulled back in a bun. Who are you? She asked warily. My name's Maya Torres. I was attacked at your diner 4 days ago. Helen's expression shifted. Recognition. The nurse. I saw you on the news. Can we come in? I'd like to talk to you about Victor Castellano. Helen's face hardened, but she stepped aside. Inside, the house smelled like mothballs and coffee. Photographs covered every surface. Helen and a man Maya assumed was her husband, younger, smiling, building the diner together. They sat in the small living room. Maya explained what they'd found. The connections, the planning, the murder. Helen listened without speaking. When Maya finished, the old woman's hands were shaking. I knew, Helen whispered. I knew he was behind it, but I couldn't prove it. We can, Maya said. With your help. What do you need? Your testimony. Your willingness to go on record, to tell people what he did to you. Helen looked at the photographs, at her husband's face frozen in time. He'd want me to fight, she said quietly. Even if I'm scared. He'd want me to fight. Then help us. Helen nodded. What do we do? Marcus had a plan. They'd contact a reporter, someone with reach, someone who couldn't be bought or intimidated. He had a name, Lauren Mitchell, investigative journalist for the Seattle Tribune. She'd broken stories about police corruption, corporate fraud. She was relentless. James sent her everything, encrypted email, documents, phone records, testimony from Helen, a detailed timeline. 2 hours later, Mitchell called. This is incredible, she said. Her voice was sharp, excited. If even half of this is true, it's all true, Maya said. Can you go on record? Your name? Your face? Maya hesitated. This was the moment, the point of no return. Yes, she said. I'll need to interview you, all of you, and I'll need to verify everything independently. Do it. Mitchell worked fast. By evening, she'd confirmed the shell companies, the financial connections. By midnight, she had statements from 3 Blackridge employees willing to testify in exchange for immunity. By dawn, the story was ready. It went live at 6 a.m., front page of the Tribune's website. The headline was simple. Billionaire developer accused of orchestrating assault to acquire property. Below it, Maya's face. Helen's testimony. Documents laid out in careful detail. By 7 a.m., it had been picked up by national outlets. By 8 a.m., Castellano's office released a statement denying everything. By 9 a.m., the FBI announced they were opening an investigation. And at 9:47 a.m., as Maya sat in Garrett's cabin watching the news coverage, her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. You made a mistake. The voice was male, cold, familiar somehow, though she couldn't place it. Who is this? Someone who gave you a chance to walk away. You should have taken it. Is this Castellano? A soft laugh. Mr. Castellano doesn't make his own phone calls, but he does send his regards. Tell him I'm not afraid. You should be. You've embarrassed a very powerful man, Ms. Torres. Made him look weak. He doesn't forgive that. Maya's grip tightened on the phone. Then he can join his employees in prison. Prison is for people who get caught. Mr. Castellano doesn't get caught. He gets even. The line went dead. Maya sat frozen, phone still pressed to her ear. Garrett was beside her in seconds. What did they say? They're coming, Maya whispered. Whoever they are, they're coming. Outside, through the window, she saw movement in the trees. Then the glass exploded inward. Garrett grabbed Maya and pulled her to the floor as another window shattered. Diesel was already moving, low and fast, toward the bedroom. Garrett's pistol was in his hand before the third shot hit the door frame. Stay down, he hissed. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. Glass littered the floor around them, catching the morning light. She could hear footsteps outside, multiple sets, coordinated. Garrett crawled to the wall, raised his head just enough to peer through the broken window. 3, maybe 4, spread out. What do we do? We survive. He pulled out his phone, dialed 911 with one hand while keeping the gun trained on the door. The line connected. Shots fired, 1847 Cedar Ridge Road. Multiple armed assailants. Officer needs assistance. He hung up before the dispatcher could respond. In Riverside, response time to this area was 15 minutes minimum. They didn't have 15 minutes. Another shot punched through the front door. The wood splintered, revealing daylight through the hole. Marcus's truck was still in the driveway. He'd left 30 minutes ago, promising to return with more evidence. Now Maya wished he'd stayed. Bedroom, Garrett said. Move. They crawled across the floor, glass cutting into Maya's palms. Her side screamed in protest, fresh blood seeping through the bandages. But she kept moving. In the bedroom, Garrett slammed the door, shoved the dresser in front of it. It wouldn't hold long, but it would buy seconds. He moved to the closet, pulled out a rifle. Hunting rifle, bolt action, 5 rounds. You know how to shoot? He asked Maya. No. He handed her the pistol anyway. Safety's off, point and pull the trigger. Don't think, just do it. Maya took the gun. It was heavier than she expected. Cold. Diesel was pressed against the far wall, ears flat, but not cowering. Waiting. Ready. The front door exploded inward, heavy boots on hardwood, voices barking orders in clipped military cadence. Clear left. Moving right. Kitchen clear. Professional, trained. This wasn't intimidation anymore. This was execution. Garrett positioned himself at the bedroom door, rifle raised. Maya crouched beside him, pistol in both hands, trying to remember every cop show she'd ever half-watched. The bedroom door handle turned. Slowly. Testing. Then the dresser flew backward as someone kicked it. The door burst open. Garrett fired. The shot was deafening in the enclosed space. The figure in the doorway dropped, clutching his leg, screaming. 2 more rushed in. Garrett worked the bolt, fired again. Missed. The rifle jammed. Maya raised the pistol. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely aim. She pulled the trigger. The recoil nearly knocked her backward. The bullet went wide, punching a hole in the wall. But it made them hesitate. Just for a second. Garrett used that second. He swung the rifle like a club, catching one attacker across the jaw. Bone cracked. The man went down. The third grabbed Garrett, slammed him against the wall. The rifle clattered to the floor. Diesel lunged. 80 pounds of muscle and fury. His teeth found the attacker's arm, clamped down. The man screamed, trying to shake the dog off. Maya fired again. This time she was closer. This time she didn't miss. The bullet hit the man's shoulder. He spun, releasing Garrett, clutching the wound. Blood poured between his fingers. Garrett didn't give him time to recover. He grabbed the fallen rifle, brought the stock down on the man's temple. He dropped like a stone. Silence. Heavy breathing. The smell of gunpowder and blood. 3 men down. 1 shot in the leg. 1 unconscious. 1 bleeding from the shoulder and a dog bite. How many more? Maya gasped. I counted 4 outside. 3 came in. Garrett moved to the window, staying low. That leaves 1. Maybe. Sirens in the distance, getting closer. A voice called from the living room. Ms. Torres, there's no need for this to get messy. Maya recognized that voice. From the phone call. Cold. Controlled. Come out. We can talk. Garrett shook his head sharply at Maya. Don't respond. The police are coming, the voice continued. When they arrive, I'll be gone, but you'll have 3 injured men in your home. Men who'll say you attacked them, that this was self-defense on our part. That's insane, Maya shouted. You shot at us first. Did we? Or did a traumatized woman still recovering from a violent attack open fire on innocent contractors who came to repair her windows? Maya's blood went cold. You see how easy that is? The voice said. Perception. Narrative. I control both. The sirens were louder now, minutes away. I'm giving you one chance, the man said. Walk out with me now, quietly. We'll sort this out away from the cameras and the police reports. So you can kill me somewhere convenient? Maya called back. A pause. I'm not here to kill you, Ms. Torres. I'm here to make you understand the cost of your choices. Garrett was typing furiously on his phone. Maya saw him pull up a video call, position the phone to capture the scene. Who are you? Maya asked, keeping the man talking. Someone paid to solve problems. By Victor Castellano. A soft laugh. Mr. Castellano has nothing to do with this. He's a legitimate businessman, respected, charitable. He'd never associate with people like me. Then why are you here? Because you made noise. Loud, public noise. That creates complications. I eliminate complications. The sirens were close now, maybe a mile away. Time's up, the man said. Last chance. Go to hell, Maya replied. Wrong answer. Footsteps retreating. Fast. The back door opened and closed. An engine started outside, not the driveway, deeper in the woods. A motorcycle. The sound faded quickly. Garrett lowered the phone. Got it. Got all of it. Got what? Audio? Video. Him admitting he's here on behalf of Castellano, threatening you. It's not much, but it's something, Maya finished. The police arrived in a storm of flashing lights and shouted orders. 6 officers, weapons drawn, surrounding the cabin. Come out with your hands up! Garrett and Maya emerged slowly, hands raised. Diesel walked between them, calm now, protective. The officers took in the scene. 3 injured men on the cabin floor, broken windows, bullet holes, blood. Detective Morrison arrived 10 minutes later. He looked at the carnage, then at Maya, then at Garrett. Start talking, he said. They told him everything. The phone call. The attack. The threats. Garrett showed him the video. Morrison watched it twice. His expression darkened. This is attempted murder, he said quietly. Multiple counts. Can you trace him? Maya asked. The man who got away? We'll try. But professionals like that, they're ghosts. Morrison gestured to the injured men being loaded into ambulances. These 3, though, they'll talk eventually. Someone always talks. By noon, the cabin was a crime scene. Yellow tape, evidence markers, forensic teams photographing everything. Maya and Garrett gave statements at the station, separately, for hours. By the time they finished, it was dark outside. Marcus picked them up. He'd heard about the attack on the police scanner, turned around immediately. Now he drove them to a motel on the edge of town, anonymous, cheap, the kind of place that didn't ask questions. You can't go back to the cabin, he said. Not until this is over. When will it be over? Maya asked. She was exhausted. Her side was bleeding again. The hospital had offered to readmit her, but she'd refused. When Castellano's in custody, Marcus said, or dead. James and David were already at the motel when they arrived. They'd been digging deeper, following trails Marcus had uncovered. We found something, James said. He had his laptop open, screen filled with financial documents. Castellano's not just buying land, he's laundering money, millions, through shell companies and real estate deals. Whose money? Garrett asked. That's the interesting part. David pulled up another document. West Coast organized crime, Russian mob, Chinese triads. He's the middleman, cleans dirty money, gives them legitimate assets. So he's not just a developer, Maya said slowly. He's a criminal. A very connected criminal, James corrected, which is why he's so desperate to shut you up. If this gets out, if the FBI starts digging, they'll find everything. They're already investigating, Maya said. Surface investigation. Looking at the assault, the attempted intimidation. James shook his head. But if they find the money laundering, that's federal prison, life sentence. Castellano knows that, which means he'll do anything to stop it. Maya sank onto the motel bed. Her body ached. Her mind raced. She'd thought this was about a diner, about land, but it was so much bigger. "What do we do?" she asked. "We finish what we started," Marcus said. "We make sure everyone knows what he is." Lauren Mitchell published a follow-up story the next morning. The attack on the cabin, the threats, the video Garrett had captured. The headline read, "Castellano's enforcers attempt to silence witness." This time, the response was immediate. Federal prosecutors issued a statement. The FBI raid on Blackridge's Seattle office made national news. 3 Blackridge executives were arrested. And Victor Castellano, billionaire developer, issued his own statement. Maya watched it on the motel room TV. Castellano stood behind a podium, flanked by lawyers. He was 60-something, silver hair, expensive suit. He looked calm, confident. "These allegations are baseless," he said. "I am a victim of a smear campaign. Ms. Torres is clearly traumatized and confused. I sympathize with her situation, but I will not allow my reputation to be destroyed by false accusations." "What about the attack on her home?" a reporter shouted. "I had nothing to do with that. If employees of a company I have business with acted inappropriately, that's on them, not me." "Do you deny trying to buy the Bluebird Diner?" "I made legitimate offers. The owner refused. I respected that decision and moved on." Lies. Smooth, polished lies. But the cracks were showing. Castellano's stock portfolio dropped 15% in 2 hours. 3 major investors pulled out of his projects. The mayor of Seattle announced a review of all city contracts with Castellano Development. "He's losing control," James observed. "Good," Maya said. But that night, as she tried to sleep in the motel room, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming. Castellano was cornered, and cornered animals were the most dangerous. The next day brought a new development. One of the men from the cabin attack, the one shot in the shoulder, agreed to cooperate with prosecutors in exchange for immunity. His name was Derek Walsh, former Marine, worked for Blackridge for 3 years, and he had recordings. Morrison called Maya with the news. "He's been documenting everything, every order, every job. He has Castellano on tape ordering the diner attack, ordering Vance's murder in the holding cell, ordering the hit on you." Maya's hands started shaking. That's evidence. Real evidence." "It's a smoking gun," Morrison said. "The DA's convening a grand jury. Castellano will be indicted by end of week." "Will they arrest him?" "Already have. Federal marshals picked him up an hour ago. No bail. He's too much of a flight risk." Maya closed her eyes. For the first time in days, she felt like she could breathe, but the feeling didn't last. That afternoon, Helen Morris called, the diner owner. Her voice was shaking. "They burned it," she said. "The diner. Someone set fire to it last night." Maya's stomach dropped. "Is it?" "Gone. Completely gone. 40 years. My husband's dream. Just gone." Maya felt rage building in her chest. Even from a jail cell, Castellano was destroying lives. "I'm sorry," Maya said. "Helen, I'm so sorry. It's not your fault." "Yes, it is. If you hadn't fought back, he'd still be winning," Helen interrupted. "At least now people know what he is. At least now there's a chance for justice." Justice. The word felt hollow. Maya drove to the diner site that evening. Garrett tried to stop her, but she needed to see it. The Bluebird was a blackened shell. The roof had collapsed. The walls were charred ruins. The neon sign lay in pieces on the asphalt. Maya stood in the parking lot where she'd been stabbed. The bloodstains were still visible, faded but present. She thought about that morning, the choice she'd made, the moment everything changed. She'd do it again, even knowing where it led, even knowing the cost. A car pulled up behind her. Lauren Mitchell, the reporter. She got out, camera in hand. "Mind if I take some photos?" she asked. "Go ahead." Mitchell circled the ruins, documenting the destruction. Then she turned to Maya. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Was it worth it? Everything that's happened, everything you've lost." Maya thought about it, really thought about it. "I didn't lose anything," she said finally. "I found something. Purpose. Clarity. The knowledge that I can stand up. That I matter." Mitchell smiled. That's a good quote. Can I use it? Use whatever you need. The story ran the next day. Photos of the burned diner, Maya's quote, and a new revelation, documents showing Castellano had ordered the arson from jail using a burner phone smuggled in by a guard. The guard was arrested, the warden was fired, and Castellano's lawyers withdrew from the case, citing ethical concerns. He was alone now, no protection, no allies. The empire he'd built was crumbling. The trial was set for 6 months out. Federal charges: racketeering, money laundering, conspiracy to commit murder. The prosecution had Walsh's recordings, financial documents, testimony from Maya and Helen and Garrett, and a dozen others. It was airtight. But Maya knew trials could be unpredictable. Juries could be swayed. Evidence could be challenged. She wouldn't feel safe until she heard the verdict. The weeks passed. Maya returned to work at Clearwater Regional, ignoring the stares and whispers. Some people called her brave, some called her reckless. She didn't care about either label. She just did her job, saved lives, one patient at a time. Garrett moved into a new place, a small house on the north side of town. Maya visited often. They'd formed a bond that went deeper than words. He was the only person who truly understood what she'd been through. Marcus, James, and David returned to their lives. But they stayed in touch, called weekly, sent updates on the case. They'd become something Maya had never really had before. Family. 3 months before the trial, the prosecution offered Castellano a plea deal, 20 years in exchange for testimony against his co-conspirators in the money laundering operation. Castellano refused. He was going to trial, going to fight. The jury was selected in early November. 12 people, 7 women, 5 men. Range of ages and backgrounds. They'd decide Castellano's fate. Opening arguments began on a Monday. Maya sat in the gallery, Garrett beside her. Helen was there too, and the families of other victims, people Castellano had hurt over the years. The prosecutor was a woman named Jennifer Reyes. Sharp, focused, relentless. She laid out the case with surgical precision. The diner, the attack, the murder, the arson, the money laundering, every piece of evidence displayed for the jury. Castellano's new lawyer, a public defender, since no private attorney would take the case, tried to poke holes, tried to create reasonable doubt, but there were too many holes to fill. Walsh testified. His recordings played in open court, Castellano's voice calm and cold, ordering violence. Handle the nurse, permanently if necessary. Make sure Vance doesn't talk. Burn the diner, send a message. The jury sat in silence, absorbing it all. Maya testified on day 4. She told her story. The diner, the parking lot, the knife, the choice. Castellano's lawyer tried to rattle her. Isn't it true you have a history of impulsive behavior? No. You threw yourself in front of a knife without thinking. I thought plenty. I just acted anyway. You could have called the police. There wasn't time. You could have walked away. Maya met his eyes. No. I couldn't. The lawyer had no response to that. On day 8, the prosecution rested. The defense called character witnesses, people who claimed Castellano was generous, charitable, misunderstood, but their testimony rang hollow against the recordings, against the evidence, against the burned diner and the dead man in the holding cell. Closing arguments came on day 9. Reyes was devastating. She walked the jury through everything, piece by piece, building an unassailable case. Victor Castellano is a man who believed he was above the law, she said, who believed money and power made him untouchable. But the law applies to everyone. Justice applies to everyone. And today you have the power to prove that. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, the foreman stood. His hands were shaking slightly. On the charge of racketeering, how do you find? Guilty. On the charge of conspiracy to commit murder? Guilty. On the charge of money laundering? Guilty. 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 12 times. Every charge. Castellano's face went white. He gripped the table, knuckles turning pale. Maya felt something release in her chest. Not quite relief. Not quite satisfaction. Something deeper. Vindication. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. The judge was a gray-haired woman with steel in her voice. Mr. Castellano, you have shown a complete disregard for human life and the rule of law. You used your wealth and influence to hurt people, to silence witnesses, to corrupt systems meant to protect the innocent. She looked at the gallery, at Maya, at Helen, at the faces of everyone Castellano had harmed. This court sentences you to life in federal prison without possibility of parole. Life. No parole, no escape. Castellano was led away in handcuffs. He didn't look at Maya, didn't look at anyone. He was already gone. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Maya pushed through them, Garrett and Helen beside her. Cameras flashed, questions shouted. Ms. Torres, how do you feel? Do you think justice was served? What's next for you? Maya stopped at the bottom of the courthouse steps, turned to face the cameras. I feel like the system worked, she said. Not perfectly, not quickly, but it worked. A powerful man committed crimes. He was caught. He was punished. That's justice. What message do you have for others in similar situations? Maya thought about it, about the diner, about the knife, about the moment she chose to stand instead of walk away. Don't be silent, she said. Don't let them make you small. Don't let them convince you that your voice doesn't matter. It does, you do. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is refuse to disappear. The interview went viral. By evening, it had been viewed 2 million times. By morning, 10 million. Maya became something she'd never wanted to be. A symbol, an inspiration. But she also became something she'd always been and never recognized. Strong. The hospital threw her a small celebration. Cake in the break room, cards signed by colleagues. Dr. Patel gave a short speech about courage and integrity. Maya smiled through it all, accepted the praise. But inside, she was already thinking about tomorrow, about the next shift, the next patient. Life moved forward. Helen used the insurance payout from the diner to rebuild. Bigger, better. She renamed it the Phoenix Diner. Asked Maya to help cut the ribbon at the opening. Garrett adopted another dog, a younger German shepherd from a shelter, named him Atlas. He and Diesel became inseparable. Marcus, James, and David stayed in touch, visited when they could. They'd found something in helping Maya, a new purpose after years of drifting. And Maya returned to who she'd always been, a nurse, quiet, competent, invisible to most. But now she knew something she hadn't known before. Invisible didn't mean powerless. 6 months after the trial, Maya received a letter. Federal Prison, California. No return address, but she knew who it was from before she opened it. The handwriting was precise, controlled. Ms. Torres, you won. Congratulations. I hope you sleep well knowing you destroyed a man's life over a momentary act of interference. You think you're a hero. You're not. You're a fool who got lucky. Heroes don't survive in the real world. They burn out. They break. I'll be watching for the day you realize that. VC. Maya read it twice. Then she folded it carefully and placed it in a drawer. She didn't respond. Didn't give him the satisfaction, because Castellano was wrong. Heroes did survive. They just didn't need recognition to do it. That night, Maya worked a double shift. A car accident came in at midnight. 4 victims, 2 critical. She moved through the chaos with practiced efficiency, hand steady, mind focused. One of the victims was a teenager, massive internal bleeding, barely holding on. Maya worked on her for 40 minutes, compressions, transfusions, everything in her arsenal. The girl's heart stopped twice. Maya brought her back both times. At 1:47 a.m., the girl stabilized. Her vitals strengthened. She'd make it. Maya stepped out of the trauma room, pulled off her gloves. A nurse touched her shoulder. That was incredible, she said. Maya shook her head. Just doing my job. But as she walked down the hallway, past sleeping patients and worried families, she felt it again. That spark. That purpose. The knowledge that she'd made a choice that mattered. A month later, Maya received another call. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Ms. Torres? A man's voice. Unfamiliar, professional. Yes? This is Colonel Andrew Hastings, United States Army. I'm calling regarding an incident that occurred 6 months ago involving a retired military working dog and a veteran named Garrett Sullivan. Maya's heart skipped. Is Garrett okay? He's fine, but I wanted to speak with you personally. Your actions that day, protecting one of our own, a veteran and his canine, they didn't go unnoticed. I just did what anyone would do. No, Ms. Torres, you did what almost no one does. You put yourself in harm's way for a stranger, for someone society overlooks. Maya didn't know what to say. I'm calling to inform you, Hastings continued, that you've been nominated for the Citizens Medal for Valor. It's awarded to civilians who demonstrate extraordinary courage. The ceremony is in Washington next month. Maya sat down slowly. I'm not. You are, Hastings said firmly, whether you see it or not. And we'd like to honor that, if you'll accept. Maya thought about the diner, the knife, the blood, the trial, the burned building, everything that had come after one moment of choice. I'll accept, she said quietly, but on one condition. What's that? Garrett and Helen come too. They're part of this story. They deserve recognition. Consider it done. The ceremony was held on a bright afternoon in November. Maya stood on a stage with 19 other recipients. Garrett and Helen sat in the front row, both dressed in their best clothes, both beaming. A general pinned the medal to Maya's chest, read a citation about bravery and sacrifice. Cameras flashed. People applauded. But Maya wasn't thinking about any of that. She was thinking about a diner, about an old man and his dog, about the moment she chose to stand instead of walk away. She was thinking about how one choice, one single choice, could change everything. After the ceremony, reporters asked for interviews. Maya gave a few, said the right things, thanked the right people. But when they asked what was next, she smiled. I'm going back to work, she said. I'm a nurse. That's what I do. And she did. The next week, Maya was back at Clearwater Regional, back to her shifts, back to saving lives. But now when she walked through the halls, people noticed, nodded, smiled. Not because she was famous, not because she had a medal, but because they'd seen what she was capable of, what she'd always been capable of. And they knew, everyone knew, that Maya Torres was someone you didn't underestimate. Late one night, 3 months after the ceremony, Maya finished a particularly brutal shift, multiple traumas, one death. She sat in the break room staring at her cold coffee. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. She opened it carefully. A photo. The Phoenix Diner. Rebuilt. Beautiful. Helen stood in front holding a sign. Grand opening tomorrow. Below the photo, a message. You gave me the courage to rebuild. Thank you. Helen. Maya smiled, typed back, You did that yourself. I just reminded you it was possible. Another text came through, this one from Garrett. Atlas passed his therapy dog certification. We're starting visits to the VA hospital next week. Thought you'd want to know. Maya replied, That's amazing. Diesel must be proud. He is. We both are. Of you. Maya set down her phone, looked around the empty break room. The fluorescent lights hummed. The coffee maker gurgled. Everything was exactly as it had always been. But she was different. She'd been overlooked her whole life, underestimated, invisible, and then she'd proven that invisible didn't mean insignificant, that quiet didn't mean weak, that ordinary people could do extraordinary things. Her pager buzzed, trauma incoming, 5 minutes out. Maya stood, dumped her coffee, headed toward the ER, back to work, back to saving lives, exactly where she belonged. But as she pushed through the doors into the organized chaos of the emergency room, her phone buzzed one last time. Another unknown number, another message. The story's not over, Ms. Torres. Castellano may be in prison, but his partners aren't, and they remember what you cost them. Sleep well. A friend. Maya stared at the message for a long moment. Then she deleted it, pocketed her phone, and got back to work. Because whatever came next, she'd handle it. The same way she'd handled everything else, by refusing to back down. The threat hung in Maya's mind for exactly 3 minutes. Then an ambulance screamed into the bay, and she had more important things to worry about. The next 2 weeks passed without incident. No strange calls, No black SUVs, no anonymous messages. Maya started to think maybe it had been a bluff, someone trying to rattle her, to make her afraid. She refused to be afraid. Work consumed her days. The ER was understaffed, overwhelmed by flu season and holiday accidents. Maya picked up extra shifts, grateful for the distraction. The rhythm of emergency medicine was familiar, grounding. She could lose herself in it, but the message nagged at her. His partners aren't. Detective Morrison called on a Tuesday morning. Maya was drinking coffee in her apartment, small, sparse, exactly how she liked it, when her phone rang. "We need to talk," Morrison said. No preamble. About what? About the people who financed Castellano's operations, the organized crime connections. Maya's stomach tightened. What about them? They've gone quiet. Too quiet. No movement, no communication. My contacts say they're planning something. Planning what? That's what worries me. When these people go dark, it usually means they're repositioning, getting ready to strike. Maya set down her coffee. I can't live in fear, Morrison. I won't. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to be careful, to watch your back. I always do. After she hung up, Maya sat at her kitchen table, staring at nothing. She'd thought it was over. Castellano in prison. The case closed. Justice served. But justice for one man didn't erase the empire he'd served. She showered, dressed for her shift, tried to push it from her mind. At the hospital, Dr. Patel pulled her aside. You okay? He asked. You seem distracted. I'm fine. Maya. His voice was gentle but firm. You're not fine. I've known you 7 years. I can tell. She almost told him, almost shared the weight she'd been carrying. But the ER was chaos, and there were patients waiting, and this wasn't his burden. I'm handling it, she said. He studied her for a long moment. If you need anything, time off, someone to talk to, just ask. I will. But she wouldn't. She never did. That night, as Maya drove home through rain-slicked streets, she noticed a car behind her, dark sedan, keeping pace. Not too close, but constant. She took a turn she didn't need to. The sedan followed. Another turn. Still there. Maya's heart rate picked up. She pulled out her phone, dialed Garrett with one hand. Someone's following me, she said when he answered. Where are you? East side, heading toward my apartment. Don't go home. Come to my place. I'll meet you outside. Maya changed direction, heading north. The sedan stayed with her, through 2 stoplights, across the bridge, into Garrett's neighborhood. She pulled into his driveway. The sedan drove past slowly, windows tinted, then disappeared around the corner. Garrett was already outside, Diesel beside him. He helped Maya from the car, scanning the street. You see the plate? He asked. No, too dark. Inside, Garrett locked the doors, closed the blinds. He poured Maya tea she didn't want but accepted anyway. This is escalating, he said. I know. You need protection. I have you. I'm one man, Maya. If they come in force... He stopped, started again. Let me call Marcus, the others. We can set up a rotation. Make sure you're never alone. I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking. I'm offering. Maya looked at him. This man who'd been a stranger 2 months ago, who'd become family, who'd fight for her without hesitation. Okay, she said quietly. Marcus arrived within the hour. James and David came the next morning. They set up a schedule. Someone would always be with Maya, at work, at home, everywhere in between. This is temporary, Marcus assured her, just until Morrison and the FBI figure out who's behind this. But days turned into a week, then 2. The surveillance continued, different cars, different times, but always there, watching, waiting. Maya felt the walls closing in. She'd won against Castellano only to become a prisoner of his legacy. On a Friday night, 3 weeks after the threat, Maya was working late when a man walked into the ER. Mid-50s, expensive suit, out of place in the chaos of Friday night traumas. He approached the nurse's station where Maya was charting. Miss Torres? She looked up. Can I help you? My name is Vincent Russo. I represent certain business interests that were affected by Victor Castellanos' incarceration. Maya's blood went cold. She glanced toward the security guard at the entrance. Too far away. I have nothing to say to you, she said. I understand, but I have something to say to you. Russo pulled an envelope from his jacket, set it on the counter. A proposition. I'm not interested. $2 million, deposited in an account of your choosing. All you have to do is recant your testimony against Mr. Castellano. Maya stared at him. You want me to lie? I want you to reconsider your perspective. Trauma can distort memory. It's understandable if you were mistaken about certain details. I wasn't mistaken. Miss Torres, be reasonable. $2 million. You could retire, travel, never work another day in your life. And Castellano walks free. Mr. Castellano is where he belongs for now, but appeals exist. New evidence can emerge. Witnesses can recant. Russo smiled. You'd be amazed how flexible the truth can be. Maya picked up the envelope. Russo's smile widened. Then she tore it in half. And half again. Let the pieces fall to the floor. Get out, she said. Russo's smile vanished. That's unfortunate. My employers don't respond well to rejection. Your employers can go to hell, along with you. You're making a mistake. No, Maya said. I'm making a choice. The same choice I made in that parking lot. I don't back down. Russo stood slowly. We'll see how long that courage lasts. He walked out. Maya's hands were shaking, but she kept her face neutral. Waited until he was gone. Then she called Morrison. They just made direct contact, she said. Morrison arrived at the hospital 20 minutes later with 2 FBI agents. Maya gave them every detail. Russo's name, his appearance, his exact words. We know who he is, one agent said. Vincent Russo, attorney for the Volkov organization, Russian mob operations on the West Coast. So Castellano was working for the Russian mob, Maya said. With them, through them, laundering their money. The agent pulled out a photo. This is Dmitry Volkov. He runs the operation. Castellano's arrest cost him millions in frozen assets. He wants revenge. Against me. Against anyone involved in bringing Castellano down. You're just the most visible target. Morrison leaned forward. We can put you in witness protection. New identity, new city, complete disappearance. No. Maya, I said no. Her voice was firm. I'm not running. I'm not hiding. I'm not giving up my life because criminals are angry they got caught. The FBI agent shook his head. Then you're putting yourself in serious danger. I've been in danger since I stepped between a knife and a stranger. I survived that. I'll survive this. This is different. These people are professionals. So am I. Maya stood. I save lives. That's what I do. That's what I'll keep doing. You want to protect me? Arrest them. Build your case. Put them away like we did Castellano. The agents exchanged glances. Morrison sighed. We're working on it, he said, but these investigations take time. Then work faster. Maya returned to her shift. The adrenaline kept her moving through the rest of the night. But when she finally clocked out at 7 a.m., exhaustion hit like a wave. Marcus was waiting in the parking lot. He drove her to Garrett's house, where she crashed on the couch, asleep within minutes. She woke to voices. Garrett, Marcus, James, and David gathered around the kitchen table. Maps spread out. Laptops open. Planning. What's going on? Maya asked, sitting up. They turned. Garrett spoke first. We're not waiting for the FBI. What does that mean? It means we're taking the fight to them, Marcus said. Russo came to you, made threats. That was a mistake. How? James turned his laptop around. Because he's sloppy. He used his real name. We tracked him, found where he's staying. A penthouse in downtown Seattle. You're going to confront him? No, David said. We're going to surveil him, document everything, find evidence the FBI can use. That's illegal. So is threatening a witness, Marcus replied. We're leveling the playing field. Maya wanted to argue, wanted to tell them it was too dangerous, but she was tired of being the target, tired of waiting for someone else to fix this. What do you need from me? She asked. Stay safe, Garrett said. Let us handle this. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. They left an hour later. Garrett stayed with Maya, along with Diesel and Atlas. The house felt too quiet. Maya tried to sleep but couldn't. Her mind raced. What if something went wrong? What if they got hurt because of her? At midnight, her phone rang. Marcus. "We have something," he said. "Audio recordings. Russo meeting with 2 men. They're planning something for tomorrow night. A location on the waterfront." "Planning what?" "We couldn't hear everything, but your name came up multiple times." Maya's stomach dropped. "They're coming for me." "That's our assumption, which means we need to move first." "How?" "We loop in Morrison and the FBI. Show them what we found. Set up a sting." "Will they go for it?" "They don't have a choice. This is actionable intelligence. If they ignore it and something happens to you—" Marcus paused. "They'll act. Trust me." Morrison acted. By morning, the FBI had a plan. They'd use Maya as bait, protected, wired, surrounded by agents, to draw Russo and his associates into the open. "Absolutely not," Garrett said when Maya told him. "It's the only way to end this. It's too dangerous." "Everything's dangerous. This is at least controlled." "Maya, I'm doing it, Garrett. With or without your approval." He stared at her, then nodded slowly. "Then I'm going too." "That's not non-negotiable. If you're bait, I'm backup." The FBI didn't like it, but Maya insisted. Garrett had military training. He'd be an asset. The plan was set for Saturday night. A warehouse on the waterfront, neutral territory, easy to secure. Maya would be wired, surrounded by agents posing as dock workers. When Russo arrived, they'd record everything, then move in for arrests. Simple. Clean. Assuming nothing went wrong. Saturday came too fast. Maya dressed in jeans and a jacket, the wire hidden beneath her clothes. An agent fitted her with a tracking device, disguised as a watch. "If anything feels wrong, say the word hospital," the agent instructed. "We'll pull you immediately." "I'll be fine." "Say it anyway." Maya met Morrison at the staging area, a building 3 blocks from the warehouse. 20 agents, SWAT team on standby, helicopters ready if needed. "Last chance to back out," Morrison said. "Not happening." Garrett appeared beside her. He'd been fitted with a vest, given a radio. His face was grim. "Stay close to me," he said quietly. "That's the plan." They walked to the warehouse. Approaching 8 p.m., the arranged meeting time. The waterfront was industrial, abandoned, perfect for an ambush. The warehouse door was open. Maya stepped inside, Garrett 2 steps behind. The space was cavernous, empty except for old shipping containers and rusted equipment. Footsteps echoed. 3 men emerged from the shadows. Russo in the center, flanked by 2 others, large, armed. "Miss Torres," Russo said, "I'm surprised you came." "You wanted to talk. Let's talk." "I wanted you to reconsider. Have you?" "No," Russo sighed. "That's unfortunate." One of the men pulled a gun, aimed it at Maya. "You've been a problem from the beginning," Russo continued, "interfering where you didn't belong, destroying carefully built operations, costing my employers millions." "Good," Maya said. Her voice was steady despite the weapon pointed at her chest. "You don't seem afraid." "I've had a knife in my ribs. A gun's not that scary." Russo smiled. "Brave. I admire that. But bravery doesn't stop bullets." "Neither does stupidity," Garrett said. "You're surrounded. FBI. SWAT. You can't win this." Russo's smile faltered. He glanced around as if just noticing the setup. "You're bluffing." Morrison's voice came through speakers hidden in the warehouse. "FBI, drop your weapons. You're under arrest." Lights flooded the space. Agents poured in from every entrance. Red laser sights dotted Russo and his men. The man with the gun hesitated. Russo raised his hand slowly. "Smart choice," Morrison said, stepping into view. The arrests happened fast. Russo and his associates cuffed and read their rights. Evidence collected. Maya's wire had captured everything. Morrison approached her as agents led the prisoners out. "You did good," he said. "Is it over?" Maya asked. "For Russo, yes. We'll use his testimony to go after Volkov. Build a RICO case. This was the break we needed." Maya nodded, but she felt numb, disconnected. Garrett touched her shoulder. "Let's go home." The debriefing took hours. Statements, paperwork. By the time Maya was released, it was nearly midnight. James, David, and Marcus were waiting outside the FBI building. They'd been monitoring from a distance, ready to intervene if needed. "It's done," Marcus said. It wasn't a question. "It's done," Maya confirmed. They celebrated quietly at an all-night diner, not the Bluebird, but close enough. Coffee and pie, small talk, the easy camaraderie of people who'd been through something together. "What happens now?" David asked. Maya thought about it. "I go back to work, back to my life." "Just like that?" "Just like that." But it wasn't quite that simple. The trial against Volkov and his organization took 8 months. Maya testified twice. So did Garrett, Helen, and a dozen others whose lives had been touched by the criminal network. The prosecution built a case so thorough, so devastating, that Volkov's lawyers recommended a plea deal. Life in prison, no possibility of parole, in exchange for information on his international operations. Volkov took it. His empire crumbled. Assets seized, accounts frozen, dozens arrested across 3 countries. And Maya went back to being invisible. She returned to Clearwater Regional, to her shifts and her patients. The media attention faded. The reporters moved on to new stories. The world forgot about the nurse who'd taken a knife for a stranger. But the people who mattered remembered. Helen sent Maya a standing invitation to free meals at the Phoenix Diner. Maya went every Sunday, sitting in the same booth, ordering the same eggs and toast. Garrett stopped by the hospital weekly, sometimes with Diesel and Atlas, sometimes alone, always checking in, making sure she was okay. Marcus, James, and David visited less frequently, but they stayed connected. Calls, texts, the occasional reunion when everyone was in town. A year after Castellano's conviction, Maya received an invitation. The Army wanted her to speak at a veterans outreach event, share her story, inspire others. She almost declined. But then she thought about Garrett, about Diesel, about the choice that had changed everything. She accepted. The event was held at a VA hospital in Portland, 200 veterans in attendance, family members, active duty soldiers. Maya stood at the podium, looking out at faces that had seen combat, trauma, loss. "I'm not a soldier," she began. "I'm a nurse. My battles happen in hospital rooms, not war zones. But I learned something the day I met Garrett Sullivan and his K-9 partner. I learned that courage isn't about training or preparation. It's about choice." She told them about the diner, about stepping forward instead of back, about refusing to let cruelty go unchallenged. "I didn't think about the consequences," she said. "I didn't calculate the risk. I just saw someone who needed help, and I helped. That's all heroism is. Choosing to act when everyone else freezes." The room was silent. Then one person started clapping. Then another. Then everyone. The applause washed over her. Maya felt something shift inside. Not pride, exactly. More like acceptance. She'd spent her whole life trying to be invisible, to blend in, to avoid attention. But maybe being seen wasn't so bad. Not if it meant something. Not if it helped. After the speech, veterans lined up to thank her, to shake her hand, to share their own stories of civilians who'd made a difference. One woman, mid-30s, scarred from burns, gripped Maya's hand tight. "Thank you," she said, "for reminding me that we matter, that people care." Maya's throat tightened. "You've always mattered. I didn't feel like it. Until now." That night, Maya sat in her hotel room, staring at her reflection. She'd changed. Not physically. The scars from the knife wounds were fading, barely visible now. But internally, fundamentally. She wasn't the same person who'd walked into the Bluebird Diner that morning. She was stronger, clearer, certain of her worth. The next morning, she received a call from Dr. Patel. "How'd the speech go?" he asked. "Better than expected." "Good, because I have a proposition for you." "I'm listening." "The hospital's starting a crisis intervention program, training staff to recognize and respond to violence against healthcare workers. I want you to lead it." Maya sat up. "Me?" "You've experienced it firsthand, survived it, fought back. Who better to teach others?" "I don't know if I'm qualified." "You're the most qualified person I know," Dr. Patel interrupted. "Think about it, but I need an answer by next week." Maya thought about it for exactly 3 days. Then she called him back. "I'll do it." The program launched 3 months later. Maya trained nurses, doctors, security staff, taught them de-escalation techniques, self-defense basics, how to recognize threats before they escalated. But more than that, she taught them they didn't have to accept violence as part of the job, that they had value, that they deserved safety. The program expanded. Other hospitals adopted it. Maya traveled, speaking and training. She became an advocate, though she never sought the title. 2 years after the attack, Maya was invited to testify before a state legislative committee. They were considering a bill to increase penalties for assaults on healthcare workers. Maya sat at the witness table, facing politicians and cameras. She told her story again, but this time it wasn't about her. "This bill isn't about revenge," she said. "It's about recognition. Healthcare workers save lives every day. They deserve protection. They deserve to know that society values them." The bill passed unanimously. 3 years after the attack, Helen sold the Phoenix Diner. Not because business was bad, it was thriving, but because she was ready to retire. She sold it to a young couple with dreams of their own. Used the money to start a scholarship fund for nursing students. She named it the Maya Torres Scholarship. Maya protested, but Helen was stubborn. "You gave me my life back," Helen said. "Let me do the same for others." 4 years after the attack, Garrett remarried. A woman he'd met at a veterans support group. Someone who understood what he'd been through, who loved him despite and because of his scars. Maya stood as a witness at their small ceremony. Diesel and Atlas were there too, wearing bow ties. Afterward, Garrett pulled Maya aside. "I never thanked you properly," he said. "You've thanked me 100 times, not for saving my life, for giving me a reason to live it." Maya's eyes stung. "You did that yourself." "No. You started it. That day in the diner, you showed me people still cared, still fought for each other. I'd forgotten that. I'm glad I reminded you." 5 years after the attack, Maya received a letter, federal prison, but not from Castellano. This one was from Derek Walsh, the Black Ridge operative who'd testified, who'd brought down the criminal network, Ms. Torres. "I'm writing because I owe you an apology. I was part of the team sent to hurt you, to silence you. I followed orders without thinking about the human cost. You changed that. Your courage, your refusal to back down. It made me question everything, made me realize I'd become the kind of person I used to fight against. I'm serving time now, but I'm also studying, working toward a degree, trying to become someone better. You probably don't forgive me. I wouldn't in your position. But I wanted you to know you didn't just save one man's life that day. You saved mine too, by showing me there was another way. Thank you. Derek Walsh." Maya read the letter 3 times, then she wrote back, "Derek, I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because holding on to anger would make me someone I don't want to be. What you did was wrong, but what you're doing now, trying to change, to grow, that takes real courage. Good luck." Maya. 6 years after the attack, Maya was promoted to Director of Emergency Services at Clearwater Regional. She accepted with the condition that she'd still work shifts in the ER. She wasn't ready to give up patient care. Dr. Patel retired that same year. At his farewell party, he pulled Maya aside. "You've become exactly who I always knew you could be," he said. "What's that?" "A leader, a voice, someone who makes a difference." Maya smiled. "I'm still just a nurse." "No, doctor," Patel said gently. "You're so much more than that." 7 years after the attack, Maya stood in the parking lot of what used to be the Bluebird Diner. It was a community center now, offering free meals to veterans and homeless populations. A plaque hung by the entrance. On this site, Maya Torres chose courage over fear. Her example reminds us that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they refuse to look away. Maya traced the words with her fingers. Thought about that morning. The knife, the blood, the choice. She'd do it again, without hesitation. Behind her, footsteps. She turned. Garrett stood there, older now, grayer, but smiling. Diesel and Atlas flanked him, both showing their age but still alert. "Thought I'd find you here," he said, "just remembering." "Good memories or bad?" "Both." Maya looked at the plaque again. "But mostly good." They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the community center's doors open. Veterans filing in for lunch, volunteers greeting them with smiles. "We did this," Garrett said quietly. "You and me. We made something better out of something terrible. We had help. But it started with you, with one choice." Maya thought about all the choices since then. Speaking up, fighting back, refusing to disappear. Every single one had been worth it. "You ever regret it?" Garrett asked. "Stepping in that day?" Maya didn't hesitate. "Never. Even with everything that came after?" "Especially because of everything that came after." She looked at him. "I spent my whole life invisible, overlooked. Then I made one choice that forced the world to see me, to acknowledge I existed, that I mattered. You always mattered. Maybe, but I didn't believe it. Not until that day." They left the community center together, heading to their cars. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Maya's phone rang. The hospital, an emergency. They needed her. She answered. "I'll be there in 10 minutes. Garrett smiled. "Some things never change." "Why should they? This is who I am." Maya drove to Clearwater Regional, the familiar route automatic. She parked in her assigned spot, reserved for department directors, though she still felt weird about it. Inside the ER was organized chaos, a multi-car pileup on the interstate, all hands needed. Maya jumped in without thinking, triaging patients, directing staff, saving lives. In the middle of it all, a young nurse, new, overwhelmed, froze when a patient started coding. Maya was there in seconds. "Breathe, you know what to do. Now do it." The nurse nodded, found her rhythm. The patient stabilized. After the nurse approached Maya, "Thank you, I almost panicked." "But you didn't, that's what matters." "How do you stay so calm?" Maya thought about the question, about everything she'd learned, everything she'd survived. "I don't," she admitted. "I just choose to act anyway. Fear doesn't disappear. You just decide it won't stop you." The nurse nodded slowly. "I'll remember that." Maya's shift ended at midnight. She changed out of her scrubs, grabbed her bag from her locker. The medal, the Citizen's Medal for Valor, hung inside, along with commendations and thank you cards from patients. She didn't need the reminders, didn't need the recognition, but they were nice to have. Walking to her car, Maya passed the window where she'd seen her reflection years ago. Exhausted, invisible, overlooked. Now she saw someone different, stronger, certain. Someone who'd proven that one person could make a difference, that quiet voices could become roars, that being underestimated was an advantage, not a weakness. She'd been stabbed, threatened, hunted. She'd faced down criminals and testified in court. She'd rebuilt herself from the ground up. And she'd survived. More than survived. She'd thrived. Maya got in her car, started the engine. Tomorrow, she'd be back at the hospital, training staff, treating patients, making a difference in small, steady ways. But tonight, driving home through empty streets, she allowed herself a moment of reflection. She thought about the woman she'd been, the woman she'd become, about the journey between them, paved with choices that had seemed impossible at the time, about the people who'd stood beside her, Garrett, Helen, Marcus, James, David, Dr. Patel, all the others who'd believed in her when she barely believed in herself. She thought about the ones who'd tried to break her. Castellano, Russo, Volkov. All of them in prison now, their empires destroyed. They'd underestimated her, saw a quiet nurse and assumed weakness. They'd learned the hard way that quiet and weak were not the same thing. Maya pulled into her apartment complex, parked in her spot. Her home was small, simple, but it was hers, earned through courage and stubbornness and refusal to back down. Inside, she made tea, sat by the window. The city sprawled below, lights twinkling in the darkness. Thousands of lives, each one a story. She was just one story among many, but her story had mattered. Maya's phone buzzed, a text from Garrett, watching the news. Another nurse stood up to protect a patient from an abusive family member. Reporter said she was inspired by you. Your example. Maya smiled, typed back. Not my example. Hers. I just showed it was possible. You showed more than that. You showed it was worth it. Maya set down her phone, finished her tea, prepared for bed. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new patience, new battles. But tonight, she'd won. Not just against criminals or corruption, against the voice that had whispered for years that she was insignificant, that she didn't matter, that she should stay quiet and invisible. That voice was gone now, replaced by certainty. Maya Torres, quiet, overlooked, underestimated Maya Torres, had stood up when it mattered most. And in doing so, she'd discovered something powerful. She'd always been strong. She just needed a reason to show it. And once she had, nothing could make her small again. She climbed into bed, set her alarm for the morning shift. Before turning off the light, she glanced at the framed photo on her nightstand. Her, Garrett, Helen, and the dogs, taken at the community center's opening. 4 people who'd survived because one person chose courage. Maya turned off the light. Tomorrow, she'd choose it again. And the day after that. And every day for the rest of her life. Because that's what heroes did. Not the flashy kind. Not the ones seeking glory. The real ones. The quiet ones. The ones who simply refused to look away.